me to like, take this down or else we're going to take it down for you. And then they didn't. I didn't. I was like, go fuck yourself. And you started the live, didn't you?
So we'll edit that out on the Rio.
Okay, sorry. Then, but yeah, they were like, oh no, yeah, we're not gonna. You better take that down. And then I didn't. And then for some reason they didn't remove it on me. So I guess, and it's not copyright anymore. So I guess somebody else stepped in and told them they were wrong.
Tisk, the bastards. Hi everyone. Sorry we missed last week, and we're back with a sick co-host. Lil Platoon is sick.
Yeah, I'm really well today. It's fantastic. I'm so looking forward to talking about Rebel Moon again. We've done EFAP on Saturday, and I did it again on Wednesday, and we're doing it tonight. And I'm pretty sure this film just makes me sicker each time I fucking watch it. So yeah, really looking forward to this one.
You should have turned your avatar green.
Even he's given up. The moving VM, the VTube one, he's just stopped. So I've had to rearrange it. This is now just like a still version, because every time I open Streamlabs and it's just this massive white blotch, which to be fair is what I am anyway. I am just a big white blotch, but it's like it's a square version as opposed to like the me version. So I don't know. I need to send him back to the shop and get him fixed.
Okay.
I like that you're wearing a special guest shirt when you come on here, by the way.
Yeah, I have host shirts and special guest shirts. I actually just I got sick of trying to decide what to wear, so I just bought shirts specifically for streams.
Right on. Yeah. We had a couple things right before I actually went to make the thumbnail for this. The Wolverine and Deadpool trailer dropped, the new one that actually showed some footage. So I'll talk about that. But Rebel Moon came out, part 2. A little BSUP lore was that I do not like Zack Snyder at all. So I didn't even watch part 1 when it first came out. With part 2 being apparently, this is the only thing out this weekend. So I watched part 1 and 2, and they were back to back. And that was exactly what I expected, honestly. But yeah, we'll discuss it a bit here. Not EFAP level, I am sure.
You must have been really pissed off when you realized that they just sum up the entire movie at the beginning of the second one.
Yeah,
well, you didn't have to watch the first one at all.
What's funny is I noticed that they left out all the key elements that make the characters look like fucking idiots in the first movie in their summary to start the second film. But
the summary made the first film sound way much like cooler than it actually was. I like the summary. Really if you just not done part 1, then everyone could be thinking, "Oh, that sounds like a really cool story. I wonder if we'll get a prequel one day."
Maybe I should go back and watch that.
That's a bad idea.
I made notes about the summary when I was watching the movie, because I thought that was so funny. It's like, you left out all the elements where that movie was ass because you made it sound okay.
I wonder how much they spent on Anthony Hopkins for
just the voice.
For just the opening voiceovers of the 2 movies and maybe 8 lines of dialogue throughout the rest of the films.
There's
still more dialogue than half the characters get. I've actually bullied my editor on this one because he's doing my Rebel Moon part. I've had to do Rebel Moon part 1, obviously, as well as part 2, because I didn't bother reviewing it when it first came out, and now, of course, now I have to. But it's the what's her name? I keep calling her Mantis, not Nemesis. That character. So like she's introduced in part 1, and she has her whole revenge is bad shtick, and then like 10 minutes later, someone says, "Hey, how about do revenge?" And everyone's like, "Yeah, that's a great idea." But like after her introduction, I've said to my editor, I want you to go through and just find me all the rest of her dialogue from this film and put it, just back to back. There's not much, but believe me, there's some in there. There's actually none, so I'm bullying him. He's actually got to go and watch the film to discover that I have just trolled him into looking for dialogue that doesn't exist, because I'm a really nice employer.
I made note about that too. I wrote it down. I was like, wait, didn't someone just say a few minutes ago that like their entire arc is about how revenge is bad? And then like when they get that, then they get that character Titus or whatever his name is, like they use that as motivation immediately.
Which is dumb as fuck anyway. Like they encounter Titus who's just been drinking in a coliseum for implied years, and her pitch to him is, "Hey, have you considered revenge?
Have you considered revenge?
Have you and he's like, "No, I've never considered taking revenge before."
She's like a Harry Krishner for revenge. But yeah,
So what? I caught a few references because I watched these movies back to back. So I'm gonna try and talk about both of them, I guess, at the same time because I'm just coming into this fascinating world all at once. Some references I caught were obviously like I'm not privy to a lot of the background information. I know it was like a Castaway Star Wars script, as far as I know.
yeah.
So
It's one of the. It's possibly the only thing that Kathleen Kennedy has gotten right since taking over is that she said no to this piece of shit.
Oh well, she's smarter than WB.
Yeah.
Okay.
Shock.
Serious question though. If this was set in Star Wars and he didn't have to do any lore, would it be better?
No.
Probably not.
No.
He still would have had to do lore because he would have had to select a section of the galaxy and also select a time period. So he still would have had to build.
And the characters are still severely underdeveloped, like 2 movies deep. And like it was like a horror movie level, kind of like a slasher movie where characters are just getting knocked off anywy. Like they're just, you don't give a shit about them. But the person who created the film definitely thinks you should be, if you're listening to the music correctly.
Yeah,
if you're getting all the cues right.
The lore stuff isn't the problem with this. I mean, it's everything else that like fails the most basic standards of writing. And it doesn't matter what universe you set it in or how much lore someone else writes for you. If you can't do characters, which he just can't do, then you're fucked. If you can't do plots, like this is a person who thinks that let's make spaceships run on coal. Like
you know what?
We're at that level of just fucking retardation from Zack Snyder at this point. How do we do characters? I don't know. Let's just have like a team building session and just do back-to-back flashbacks where one person says, "Oh yeah, the Motherworld came to my planet and killed all my people," and everyone else says, "Yeah, same." Like that's the level we're operating on here. It's just
the only person being that I was part of the Motherworld and I went to go kill a planet and they killed my people instead. That was the big twist of Titus's.
It just feels to me like I'm not a fan of any Zack Snyder movies, but even like Batman vs Superman is better than this. Like if he's given a sandbox to play in instead of one to create, I feel like he does slightly better. It's not like he did any character development in any of his DC movies, but you know the characters enough that it passes a little easier. To me, at least, I don't know.
To piggyback on what you just said, he not only needs to be put in the sandbox that is already built, he needs all of the toys to be bolted to the ground. That's the only reason why Watchmen.
Yeah.
That's the only reason why Watchmen works is because he followed a template of this is exactly what we're putting on the screen.
Yeah, that's true. 300, I guess, works the same.
300 as well, same deal. It followed a template. Then they tried to expand out, give him he's already done a couple of comic book films, give him a little bit more leeway. It went to shit, and now this is, there's a pattern here that is very easy to follow.
Jedi Burks, I tried to get him on because I had just watched a great video he did on part 1 of this. And he mentions that Snyder really does get exposed here because he's finally left to all of his own devices, and this is actually what you get. Like this is what I don't even think it's a facade. It's not smoke and mirrors. Like I think any discernible viewer watching these movies can just be like, yeah. Like even if someone liked Batman versus Superman, you can still walk away and just like, that movie was objectively kind of a piece of shit. It's just a really bad film. This is just what you get now because he wrote the script, not only developed the story, but actually participated in writing the script.
He assembled words. He put words on paper. Writing a script is not what I think he did.
And like you said about the whole, this is a guy who thinks the ships run on coal. In the same video Jedi Brooks made, he put a clip of a Snyder interview in, and he's talking about how he's like, yeah, this is like sci-fi fantasy or whatever. And like, how did the ships run? I don't know. I don't give a fuck. Like that is where his mindset is. Like that's almost, if I remember, it's almost verbatim the quote, but that's basically where his mindset is. He doesn't care about that kind of stuff. He cares about what looks cool. I've always said that, and now this is like absolutely everything is because he thinks it looks cool.
And this film in particular, Rebel Moon Part 2, really does demonstrate the extent to which he just writes on the fly. Like it is just a case of let's jump from seeing does this look cool? Okay, we'll have that. Does this look cool? Okay, we'll have that. And like nothing is actually been done with a mind to past events or future events. He's not actually chaining these things together logically. because that requires that you're actually writing as opposed to just imagining vague, pretty sci-fi backdrops with, I don't know, like very sweaty, muscly men on the screen, and occasionally counterbalanced by a gay clown creature to prove that you're not actually a homo. But actually, there's not even a gay clown creature in this one. It's just abs occasionally. He's such a fucking hack. But he's actually claimed this. You're right. Like, he has said pretty much overtly, this is what you get from me. I'm fine if you don't like my movie, but just be aware that, you know, if you shit on it too hard, you're just going to get a focus group. Whereas this is what I wanted to do. This is my vision.
Way
I'm
better.
thinking you're really making focus groups sound like a good idea at this point.
Yep.
I'm going to give him more credit right now too, which is he did both movies for $166 million, and they don't look bad. I mean, everything he does looks bad. Like whoever his VFX supervisor is, great. They do great work.
It's on par with things that are significantly more expensive.
You can tell where they put focus. Sometimes the visuals look very good, and sometimes they look horrendous. The robot character that's voiced by Anthony Hopkins, I don't even remember what the fuck its name is.
James.
Anthony Robotkins is his name.
Anthony Robotkins.
I don't know. He was wearing like a crown of horns that became a crown of thorns. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it like that looked really good. And then there were other moments that looked fucking ridiculous. Sometimes it looked like a stage play, and if it were a stage play, it would look tremendous because it's all about context. But it's not. This is a movie that's on Netflix, and I think most of the time it looked really shitty, really bad.
But it's partly, I mean, some of that is just the innate ridiculousness of the setup. So, like, the basic plot for this film is, you know, it picks up directly after part one. All the heroes go back to Farm World. And they've decided, this was the problem with part one as well. They beat the Empire, and you think, well, you're going to have to run now, aren't you? Because you've just beat the Empire and you've really pissed them off, and your farm is indefensible, and also it's not very valuable. You should just be leaving. Why are you still there? But they've decided, no, they will go back there to live. And they decide, like, Kora seems to think it's, for some reason, she actually has the line, well, we're not going to have to fight because we killed the Admiral. It's like, what? No, you killed the Admiral. That means you are fucked. Leave the farm. But they decide to stay on the farm. And one of the reasons it's always going to look terrible, even in the scenes which are technically well produced, and there's not very many of those, but the scenes that look like superficially aesthetically pleasing still seem ridiculous, because what you're watching is a giant coal-powered spaceship arriving in orbit, not immediately blasting the shit out of the villagers, dropping like mass legions of gun-using people outside the village with giant spider tanks, which then just don't do anything for fucking ever. And then lots of villagers swarming out of barns on repeat and punching people. And it looks dumb because the premise is dumb, because there's no way they can win this fight except by massive stupidity. And you realize that, yeah, they are just defending one random farm in an entire galactic empire. And the only reason they don't get blasted from orbit is that for some reason, everyone has decided that grain is the most important. It's like spice melange. It's the most important thing in the galaxy, until it isn't again, because they realize they don't need it. The whole premise is fucking Borg. It's mental.
That was one of my favorite lines to sum up exactly how terrible the scripting was. Kind of piggybacks on what you just said, Little Platoon. It was, oh, we have the Scargiver. Just bomb the planet. We don't need the grain anymore. It's like, so you never needed it to begin with then. If that
right. Yeah. Like, you didn't need it in the first place.
She was a side quest to the main quest. The main quest for them was originally, let's go to this planet, or moon, whatever it is. We'll go to this moon. We're going to, fleece them for everything they're worth. And then we're going to use it and we're going to let them die. Oh, and then they're like, we just happened to come across this deadly warrior. And then somewhere in between there, it's now flip-flop. We don't need that grain anymore as long as we have her, because apparently that negates their need for food.
So. The one thing that I could not get over, to me, that just encapsulates like how bad this fucking script is he wakes up out of his cryo healing sleep, which for some reason she doesn't know about, even though it's only been a few years since she left. So like they developed this like brain restructuring, all body healing tech since she's been gone, which is crazy. But then he like wakes up, calls her the Scargiver, but like we don't know how she got that name. And the wide shot you see he can't even see the scar on his chest. He just woke
Right,
up.
yeah.
It's still covered. And then
So
later in the
later on-
movie, yeah, they're like, oh, we could get rid of that scar. And he's like, oh no, I'll keep it. Like, wait, what? Like, what? So like this
Oh my
wasn't
God.
what the fuck? What is going on? Like the scar's not permanent. Why would
That whole
Also,
sequence was
my
actually
brain,
pointless.
dude.
Go ahead.
Bringing the villain back, who in my opinion is the best part of the both films.
I agree.
He's actually really good. Every time
Of
he's on
course
the
you love
screen,
Nazi Jesus.
dude, do you see how white he is?
Like
Huge
3%
fan.
body fat, man. His veins are bigger than his fucking
Yeah, I was gonna
eyeball.
say, like at one point, I was like, "How fucking lean is this guy?" Jesus Christ!
Like bodybuilder competing lean. It's gross, man.
But he was the actual one interesting thing about the whole movie. Good villain, but completely pointless in the second film. He dies at the end of the first movie. They bring him back before the end so that you know he's coming back. And then in this one, guess what? It doesn't do shit, and he fucking dies again. If you bring him back, no matter how charismatic and fun of a villain he is, he's just a bitch. It's pointless to bring him back again. So I really hope they don't. And if they don't, it also just highlights how pointless it was for him to even come back in this one. He amounted to nothing.
They had a plot point that they highlight for no apparent reason too. They highlight that he's been brain dead for a long extended period of time, and it might have negative consequences. Like it might change him, whether it be physically or mentally. And then it
does.
doesn't.
It gives him superpowers. He comes back with super strength for some fucking reason, which then he never manages to make any use of at any point during the film.
Nope.
So he comes back stronger. He's also lost, like in the first film, he has those weird plugs all over his body, and he gets like implied hentai raped as well by tentacle monsters for fun. Those plugs have just gone. So they've removed the plugs from him, so he's healed. He's got super strength. They also, hint that he might have brain damage, even though at the final scene of part 1 has him waking up shouting, so they know he's alive and fine. Part 2 just sort of forgot that they did that. So they do, so then he wakes up again for the first time in this one in order to go and find Kora, who, by the way, this is the thing that was really funny, because it didn't actually stand out to me the first time I watched part 1, until I rewatched part 1, and I think that I just was paying more attention. There's the scene in part 1 when the stupid fucking bounty hunter guy has finally captured all of the people that he could have captured at any point before then, but didn't because the film didn't want him to. Right. And this is when he drops in front of Kora, and you, Kora, your name is really Arthur Laird, I think her name is. You're the most wanted criminal in the galaxy. And no one fucking spotted her.
That's
one
what I
recognized her.
said. I
He was
wrote that
standing
down.
opposite the main villain in that movie, and he just says, "Oh yeah, I thought I recognized you." The most wanted criminal in the galaxy is not
She's
someone you
so
think
cavalier.
you might recognize.
It's like
But then now
Osama
he
bin
knows
Laden
that.
walking around Times Square, just like
Yeah.
da.
And then the CIA is like, "Oh yeah, we thought we saw you earlier, but just weren't really sure, so we let you go."
I had to go back and make sure at the beginning of the movie, like she's fucking standing there amongst them all. So she knows she's the most wanted villain in the known universe, and she's just like standing in front of a guy who's the leader of a dreadnought. So he's essentially general in the people who are hunting her. Like it's fucking ridiculous.
He's an admiral
and damages part 2.
Excuse me.
In part 2, she knows that she is the most wanted person in the galaxy. She knows she's been recognized. She's been caught once. She's directly encountered and fought and killed an admiral who knows she's the most wanted person in the galaxy. And she knows that they haven't defeated the Empire entirely, so they reasonable course, I suppose. But the Empire knows that she's on fucking Farm World. So why does she go back to Farm World and tell everyone that they're all fine? She's the one who's putting them in danger. And they should know that, but they don't because they're fucking morons. So she goes back there.
Yeah, you mentioned it at the beginning too. We're jumping all over the place, but this movie is just...
That's how the movie is.
Yeah. But you mentioned at the beginning when they go back and she tells them that they're going to be fine. I don't understand how she could possibly think that that's going to be fine. Her explanation is, well, if the admiral of a ship dies, it goes back to the mother world. Well, when it goes back to the mother world, what the fuck do you think is going to happen? They're just going to be like, yeah, he's just dead. They're not going to
Yeah.
figure out why.
Oh no, our only admiral in the entire empire. We have no other admirals that can possibly be.
Well,
we
let's not figure out what happened.
And it's another one of those completely drop points as well, because they say that at the close of part 1 to reset positions. Yeah, when they're actually, even though we've just portrayed them as being this battle-hardened, genocidal, mass-murdering cult of death merchants, they're actually also really scared. And so when you kill the admirals, they run away. Except that in this film, they haven't run away because they just stayed there and waited for fucking peaky Nazi guy to wake up again. So that information was redundant. They don't run away, except that they do, but they also don't. It just, I don't think, I have no idea what he was thinking when he wrote part 1.
The thing that fucks me up too is like they filmed them at the same time, and there's like continuity errors between the two.
Yeah.
When you film them at the same time, how the fuck do you do that? Like, how do you film him waking up and being like, okay, that's the end of 1, and then you start the next day of shooting, and you're like, all right, let's do him waking up again out of death. Like, I don't know. I think he assumes his audience, like his base level audience, is like grade 6 to like just graduated high school. That's got to be who he's aiming for. Because I could see how a bunch of kids would be like, "This movie's sweet. It's like the new Star Wars."
Yeah.
That have like no depth at all. Like they only watch TikTok. This feels like a movie that was made for that demographic.
Right. And what's funny is with Batman versus Superman and the DC movies, he was selling to an audience that was probably more our age, like in our 30s. So they could feed into all the bullshit narratives and like the undertones and all the shit. And then he'll like read the fucking Reddit boards and spew it back. Like, yeah, I totally meant to do that. Like they totally got it right. But with this, like, he's preaching more to, a younger audience. It would be more appealing to. So they can't fill in all those details for him. So he doesn't have all these undertones that these films are filled to the brim with.
Is he religious?
I have no idea. Probably.
I don't think so. I think he just understands the vague power of iconography, but he just doesn't understand how to use it, which is how, he can turn the space Nazi guy into Jesus at the beginning of this film. But in the same way that he turns Superman into Jesus, and the robot is also, he just understands vague Christian imagery and thinks, oh, that looks cool. This will be really fucking cool. Let's put a crown of thorns on the robot and pose a Nazi and a cross thing. Like, yeah, this is really fucking edgy.
I feel like
man did this.
It's got to be the most fun sets to work on, though, because like you just have an idea. You're like, wouldn't this be sick if he was Jesus? And Snyder's just like, yeah, that's actually dope. Let's do like it must be so fun.
Cynic. I want for Halloween when when it comes up, you have to do be a Zack Snyder. Like that's what you have to do because you do a really good impression of him. So that's just
I'll have to get on like steroids and gain 40 pounds.
Yeah. No, just be like he's actually in pretty decent shape. Yeah.
Yeah, he used to. Well, wasn't he in like MMA? Like all the shit I talk about Snyder, I feel like I always have to reinforce. I'm sure.
I don't remember. I know he's in pretty good shape though.
I feel like he'd be out of all the directors I would pick to hang out with. If I wanted to have like a good time and just fuck around and like go get drunk, I'd probably pick Zack Snyder. He seems like the funnest dude.
If you pitched him an idea in a bar, he'd make a movie out of it and not ask you for any of the details. So you'd be like, but wait a minute, you need that. And he'd be like, no, that's too much.
Yeah, but then you'd pitch him something about like character growth, and he'd be like, what? What are you talking about?
Character growth?
Where's the explosions? Is that guy shirtless?
He does look a little haggard lately. He's just getting older. It is what it is. My guy Snyder is just getting older.
So speaking of character growth, can we talk about Kora for a second? Because like her backstory is absolutely insane. We get more of this in part 2. So part 1, every time she speaks to her generic farmer love interest guy, it's just an excuse for a flashback where they do like this really on the nose exposition. The same thing happens in part 2 as well. But from part 1, we get that so she was a kid on a random planet, and the mother world arrived, and Belisarius turns up and murders her entire family and kills everyone on the planet for the crime of resisting. And he's an absolute genocidal maniac. And because he does all of this, she falls in love with him and is his loyal daughter forever, and ends up serving the mother world loyally. And she completely agrees with all of his ideology because it killed her family, which makes no fucking sense. But that's what we got from part 1. Part 2 develops this because we get another flashback, which is the assassination of Princess Issa. Is it Issa? I think it's Issa. Princess Issa.
Yeah.
they go up to a ship, she and the royal family, and it turns out it's all a ruse. Belisarius has arranged for them to go there so that Kora can assassinate the princess. And it's the most insane scene. I'm wondering, I've actually got, I might have this. Hold on. While
Are
I
you talking
find
about
it,
the scene where the fucking actual, like the
Yeah.
Titanic band is there?
Yeah.
yeah,
The best scene in cinematic history. I'm actually going to stand by that. It's it's so dumb that it's like Moonfall in one scene.
Yeah,
It's
while
just the
you
dumbest
find that
shit.
platoon, I found someone on Twitter unironically praising that, and I
Is it
bookmarked
Leon? Is it Leon?
Is it? I don't
my
know.
God.
Like
Oh.
people, I just saw it and I was like, no way anyone actually thought that was good. I have to let me re-explore.
Gotta
this
be
later.
Leon. Leon's the only person I know who enjoyed these movies.
They have to be the best musicians literally in the galaxy to like soundtrack
No, it was
someone's
not
death
Leon.
in perfect 4/4 timing. They died in perfect 4/4. That's crazy.
okay, here we go. This is the scene in question. So we got the royal family. I can't press play, which is bad because otherwise you'd be able to get a sense of how terrible the acting is all the way through this scene. It's really awful. So they go up, and you've got, so it's all arranged. That's Belisarius at the bottom there. He's just standing there. King realizes something is up. And what he's doing here is Julius Caesar. And because Zack Snyder doesn't understand how subtext works, he is just doing Julius Caesar. Like there's no, this is going to be a clever little subtle reference. It's just, no. For the next few minutes, just treat this as ancient fucking Rome. They're in the Senate, and Caesar is about to get stabbed. There's the little princess, and we've got, what's her name? Kora there. Wedding band. They bring a wedding band to this assassination, as you do. Everyone stabs the king. And this is where things start going slightly wrong. Because your protagonist, ideally, you want to sympathize with your protagonist, right? Your protagonist is supposed to be the person that they might make mistakes, but you think they're fundamentally good people. But this is Kora telling us that she was so besotted with the mother world that murdered her family that she willingly went along with the plan to assassinate this small child to the point where she did it herself.
Because she
And then
believed
she's
she'd
dead.
be protected, by the way.
Yeah, she believed Belisarius, known traitor who's just done the fucking Et tu Brutus thing, that he's going to protect her. There's the little magical thing there because the end of this film is the worst sequel bait ever when they basically say, oh, by the way, the princess isn't dead. You should go and find her.
By the way.
I didn't even notice that when I watched it.
Wait,
I didn't even notice that when I watched it.
It really is like that. Oh, by the way,
she's gonna be a force ghost in part 3 of 6.
hold on. One sec. No one noticed that the blonde girl in the village is the princess.
Oh, of course, I wrote that.
Oh, okay, yeah, cool. It's been obvious.
No,
since,
that's
like,
in
the
my
second scene.
I wrote the obvious blah blah blah. Yes, it's in the notes.
We have to go find her at some point. Belisarius turns on Kora, but they don't think to stop her escaping. They just kind of let her escape, and she murders everyone on her way out. That's a thumbnail right there. Hold on, I'm just gonna screenshot that one because I might need that later. And then she runs away. So this is sort of already a bit of a problem because our protagonist has just murdered a small child, and that doesn't usually make them look good. It doesn't get any better though, because I actually counted it. By the 90th minute into this movie, the only people Kora has killed are a small child and some doctors who are unarmed. Your protagonist is just a war criminal at this point. What a terrific, lovely woman that she is. So that's the assassination scene. Her backstory is mad. I don't know how she hasn't been captured already. What a fucking movie.
And, aren't we like the king, the slain king? Aren't we supposed to be led to believe that like essentially he was like a conqueror, and then like this daughter that he had changed his heart?
Oh, this is another thing, right? So none of this makes
That's
any
another
sense.
right.
Yeah. Part
And I
1
was
has
like, well,
it.
he's still a bad person because like
Yes.
he did terrible things for a long time. This
Exactly.
is why in story Darth Vader was redeemed, but he definitely had to die at the end of the movie. Like if he were to be left alive, that motherfucker had to go to jail.
He was sitting in front of a war tribunal for the next 100 years. Listening
Right.
To his war
So like
crimes.
we can feel good about Darth Vader's redemption because he died at the end. You know, in this case, that king, I don't feel bad that he's dead. It sounds like he was a real piece of shit later
But
on.
it also means that you can't actually have any kind of investment in the conflict because like Snyder wants to have it both ways. He wants it to have been a really long established, brutal, bloodthirsty, militaristic empire. And he also wants you to be sad when the king of the brutal, bloodthirsty, militaristic empire is dead. But you can't have it. There's actually no difference between the king and Belisarius, who's supposed to be the bad guy, because everything we see Kora do in her flashback, she's doing for the king, not for Belisarius.
Right. Isn't the whole point is that Belisarius was like the right-hand man, essentially, of the king, and when the king started when the king wasn't violent anymore, he's like, no.
I thought it was his son. I'm pretty certain it's his son.
No, Belisarius is just a senator. He's not a blood relative. I don't think that's in the film. So part one has one of these flashback scenes when the king tells Kora, and so the implication is it's immediately before the assassination. The king says, "Ah, yes, my daughter. I think she will bring the compassion back to the empire that I have lost because of war." Fantastic fucking dialogue writing there, Zach. Well done. But there's like, how do you go from like the assassination plot is seemingly already in progress at this point, and yet the king is only starting to do the thing that makes them want to assassinate him after the plot has begun. So the actual meta storyline doesn't make any sense either. It just doesn't hang together. Because also, like, if the king knows, oh yeah, I've been a bit of a dick recently, but my pure daughter will save us, then why hasn't he changed his mind before? Just because you realize that you're being a dick doesn't excuse you from, not being a dick. You can make this decision at any point. But no, he threatens the military-industrial complex, and so he has to be assassinated. Hooray.
You've thought about this movie more than anyone on Earth.
No, you said
you've thought about this movie more than Snyder.
Yeah. Yeah, that's probably true.
For real. It's fucking crazy.
A lot more to it.
Does that ever mess with your head that like you put more thought into movies than the people that make them?
It used to, but then I realized that putting any thought into movies these days tends to be more thought than the creators put in. And certainly this is definitely true of anything Zack Snyder does. Because I've only watched this film the once and just scattered some notes around of stuff that occurred to me as I was watching it. It's not even hard to come up with this shit.
I also didn't understand her entire motivation of wanting to save all these people. And well, I mean, like for every character, you'll notice a pattern. You have to convince us, the audience, of why they're going to do this because it's all forced. Like nothing. Even her decision to save these people, like she was there for 2 years. She doesn't really seem to have much of a connection with a lot of people. She's pretty resistant to this guy to the point where at the first sign of trouble where she's like, oh, these guys are fucked, I'm just out of here. And then she has a change of heart. And this guy's a complete fucking dipshit. The guy in this movie, and well, in the first movie, he gets the leader killed because he can't keep his fucking mouth shut. And then in this movie, he really could have gotten all those children and women killed if it wasn't for all the plot armor and terrible script writing of Zack Snyder. Because at the end of the movie, the villain comes down and makes the deal like, hey, we know where the women and children are in this building. We have it surrounded. So you have to come with us and we're going to kill them all. And she goes, all right, I will. And the guy, her boyfriend, who's a complete moron, goes, no, they're lying. And hits the signal, or it shoots the bell. That's the signal to initiate their trap or whatever. If it wasn't for the plot armor, because you don't see what happens to the women and children for another like 10 minutes. I was asking, I was like, I would imagine that if something were to happen immediately, those guys would just be killed, but apparently not. Because the script forgot about them. It was inconvenient.
I also, you can't gather the positioning in the final battle at all.
No, you can't. It's so poorly the geography.
Yeah,
Sorry.
There's no like establishing shots of where everyone is. So I couldn't tell if the soldiers that are going to find the women and children end up finding Titus and the other guy, or if they actually find the women and children and then all die because of the sword lady, which is like also the worst fucking scene I've ever seen in my life.
It's so bad.
Yeah, they didn't establish that she was in that building beforehand.
But is she even in that building, or is she in the other building? What
I had to rewind it twice to figure it out. The only way I knew was at the end when she dies that the kid runs up to her. So they're constantly jumping back and forth between scenes, but everything's the exact same fucking color. So you don't actually know where anyone is. You don't know if they're like when they're cutting away, if reaction shots are to them or if it's a whole new fucking part of the battle over here. Like you have no fucking clue what's going on at all.
Dude,
Everything
when
just
the
resets as well. So they spawn, like villagers just spawn out of barns like it's a video game. So they run out, but then it's like it's the spawn point. They just flood back in again about 4 or 5 times, and then all of a sudden everything stops, and then the soldiers are somewhere else in the village, and then a fucking another barn just opens, and there's more villagers, and you've got like Hunk Mowgli jumping at them with an axe for some reason in this science fiction setting. None of that makes it's an impossible to follow battle. It looks dumb. I think Nemesis, the samurai woman's death though, is probably like it's the dumbest bit of the whole thing.
Fucking dumb.
when I realized that the soldier kid is just lying behind a table while she's dying, like she dies to one last dude, and there's like 40 people in the back of the room, just like
they're just like standing back.
They're just watching. And they let the 6-year-old with the butter knife go up and try to 1v1 this dude. Like, what the fuck? Dude?
I also didn't understand, like, so they're watching from the dreadnought above. They can see everything that's going on. They're like, huh, all these people are in this building. Well, once they get down there, everyone is in a fucking building. Like everybody. I didn't understand how they strategically knew this one building was the one that was going to be important, and then it wasn't fucking important.
Everybody else was really
anywhere.
cold.
They can scan through the ceiling of these barns. They can't scan and look at the tunnels where they've mined explosives. So that's not possible. They can scan through the roofs and say, "Oh my goodness, they've put grain against the walls." Clever fuckers. They know we can't possibly do anything about the grain.
That tactical genius.
Oh, what a clever man. Unironically speaks the line, "The grain is the most powerful weapon you have."
Clever
no, it
fuckers.
fucking isn't. It's
Using
not.
and taking all that time to mill the grain and then put it in bags, and it didn't
Just to
actually
get that
achieve anything.
motherfucking shit blown
Dude,
sky high.
the fucking slow-mo shot of knockoff Mantis flipping
Yeah.
the grain, dude, it sent me. I played that like 4 times over. Like, what? I watched like right before he did an interview. I saw it on Twitter where he was like, someone asked him like, why do you use so much slow-mo in your movies? And he's like, oh, it's a great way to see our heroes in the most heroic moments. And then I watched the movie and it's just her like flipping grain seeds.
Grain.
What?
But the
Like
theory,
slow-mo flour into a bag.
the theory of keeping the grain in bags and putting it against the buildings actually doesn't do it. So just bombarding the moon by itself is going to destroy all of that grain, right? So like that was a wasted 3 days, because most of it is near their buildings where they have to do all the milling and planting and all that stuff. So it's going to get destroyed either way. Grain is dry and catches on fire and brush fires if there's anything. So that was 3. They have 5 days to prepare for this, and more than half of it is doing a completely pointless task.
Because that's the thing. The only way for it not to be pointless is if the enemies actually do need the grain.
Yeah,
They
that
don't,
too.
which is the problem. The whole reason they needed it in part 1 is because they planned to have a really long, exhausting campaign trying to hunt down the Rebel Alliance, which they're not trying to do anymore. And our heroes also know that they're not trying to do this anymore. So nobody involved has any reason to believe that the grain is important. They just all act as if it is until the point when they all decide that it isn't again. So like you have this huge, like the first half an hour of the movie is basically just harvest, evil guy wakes up, more harvest, evil ship arrives, more harvest, feast. And that's the first 35 minutes of this movie. And it's all in slow-mo and it's insufferable. And you watch it and you think, my God, this is better be worth something by the end of this. Because if this turns out to be shit, oh no, the tank blew it up. Fuck it. Fuck the grain. All of it was pointless. We didn't need it after all. And then you get to the point of, well, we need to get Kora alive. That's what the villain's motivation becomes, because that's what Belisarius told me I need to do. I need to go there and capture her and bring her back. And so you think, well, okay, maybe they still couldn't have bombed the village if they wanted to bring her back alive. But then he says, no, if I kill you in battle, it looks even better for me. So then you've just, like, both the reasons for you not nuking the village have just gone. And you should have done that. And the film would have been 5 minutes long.
There's also the fact, like, when they're talking about the grain, I think the guy references that it takes them like 6 months to harvest all the grain, and they have 5 days to do it. They somehow do it in 3, and then also dig full trenches where they know that all the ships are going to land. They do that all in 5. Why have you guys wasted 6 months? It takes you 6. Are there 5 of you harvesting the grain usually?
So that's 6 months if we use our time. For all we know, it could actually be significantly
Well, they
longer
all
than
act
that.
like it's an insane feat to try and do
Well,
it
I'm saying
in 5
it could
days.
actually be
And they
even
fucking
longer
do it
than
in
that.
3.
Because they say it's half a revolution
half
around the
rotation,
planet, or so technically it could be even longer than that. There's supposed to be a a moon on a gas giant, which tends to be further away from a star than Earth, like a terrestrial planet. So it actually is probably even longer for a year. So
Yeah, doesn't he ask how long it normally takes to do it, and they answer him, and then he like the way that the take that they use, because he's like, you need to do it in 3 days, and like the way he fucking acts is so ridiculous. Like, why didn't you just say that in the first place? If that's what it has to be. And second of all, like it's like he's just wasting everyone's time fucking with them. Hey, you need to do it in 3 days. Like, this is the good guy, by the way. This is Titus.
It's Titus, yeah.
I also
wrote down, sorry, I just want to mention, I wrote down this note about the halfway mark of this film is when the dreadnought arrives at the village. That's the halfway mark of the second movie. You know what happens in the first half? Fucking nothing. They prep the grain and prep the booby traps. And then the dreadnought arrives. And we're 1 hour deep into the movie at that point. And then just to drag his feet, a perfect example of that, from 59:40 to 1 hour and 40. So 1 entire minute of the film is dedicated to the ships coming down from the dreadnought and landing on the ground. An entire minute of the film. And also to note, 11 minutes and 45 seconds of this movie are credits.
I didn't even get that far.
I was just gonna say there's a really sick slow-mo shot of the prince slave guy. I can't remember his name, but he goes to hit a dude with his axe, which it's like showing up to like World War II with a bunch of tomahawks and not getting killed instantly, which makes no fucking sense. But his axes bounce off people. If you watch some of the shots, he like hits a dude and just bounces off his back, and the guy's like, "Oh my god."
There's a few shots as well with it because it's all in slow motion. But when he and Titus are just on the bridge and there's fucking thousands of laser shots just flying past them, and the plot armor on these guys is it's absolutely ridiculous. They should all be dead. Also found another one because it's just full of them. So this is also another potential.
That's a good
thumbnail right there. Just gonna save that one. There was another one when that's one of there as well.
You're picking some of the same ones I've considered.
Oh god, that's beautiful.
But cinematography is the thing that Zack Snyder's good at, right? You know, all those people who say, well, okay, maybe his characters are shit and maybe his plots don't make any sense, but at least he's a good cinematographer, is Zack Snyder. He knows how to pick an image. Yes, indeed. Yeah, he does. Really, really does. Is there anything should we do like there's the bit on the character backstories, whether they all have that team building session, right? Because we've had no character establishment stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So Zach thinks, right, let's condense this into one continuous scene, just flashback after flashback after flashback. I don't know if any of you guys have a favorite of these backstories where the Empire does the same thing to everybody. Mine has probably got to be Nemesis's though, because like there's all variations on a theme. So like we get in my past, Mother World showed up to my planet, killed everyone, and now I want revenge. That's basically everyone's story. But it's just like variations on it. So you get Mowgli, fucking what's his name? Axe guy. I don't even know what his name is. Turak, Tarak, something like that.
Yeah.
His is like they showed up on my planet and killed some hippogriffs, and then my mum jumped off a balcony and now I ran away. That's his. The Nemesis is what is the best because it's like, yeah, I lived on a fishing village and we were really peaceful. But long ago we weren't peaceful. So we keep some lightsabers in a drawer and some robot arms. So they kill my village and I'm going to chop my own arms off with these lightsabers. And luckily the arms that you get are just plug and play. You can just stick them in and they work. And then the blood of my ancestors teaches me how to fight and I become revenge. That's her entire thing. Basically, all we get from this point to the end of the movie contradicts completely what she said in the part 1 film, where she kills the Spider Queen and says, "Don't enjoy this. Revenge is bad." But now she is revenge again. But it's just fucking nothingness of character, and she's one of the most well-developed characters, which is really saying something because there's nothing there. It's just I killed my fishing village and I stole an arm.
I love the the low-key, just subtle racism too. You know, that on other planets in space, if there are Asians, they're still fishermen. You know, they're still fishermen. And
It's just
somehow
space Vietnam is what they've
the
done.
only black guy in the whole cast knows like African hymns that he sings. Like, what? Why would he be
in
singing
overalls
in,
in
like,
a field while farming?
Yeah, like what? He's from another planet. Why? Oh God!
There's an Africa in space, all right. There's
That
planet
guy
Africa.
is the concept of that movie, American Society of Magical Negroes. Like he's that character. He is that character. He's the black character that makes all the white characters feel better in Rebel Moon, especially by the end. Like when he's like, "Oh yeah, by the way, that girl that you've been missing for years and feel responsible for her death, she's alive. We should go find her."
I knew this whole time and didn't.
I've known this whole time,
Dude, the thing that's gonna piss me off the most is he's gonna make a third movie. I know it because enough people are gonna hate watch this. Oh, it's already. Oh fuck.
And it's gonna be called. Oh baby, it's gonna be called. No way. Twilight. That's fake. Twilight of the Gods. That's a lie. I'll get back to you, but of course there's gonna be a third movie.
They're gonna go look around the galaxy to just come back to that fucking planet and realize that she was on the planet the whole time. It's gonna be an entire nothing movie of them looking for a person that everybody knows is right where they are.
To answer Platoon's question from before, because I don't think did anybody else get a chance to say what their favorite? My favorite thing about the powwow sequence of all of our negative experiences is that most of them, the point, like I was saying this backstage, point A to point B doesn't make any sense. So you had Turok, the dinosaur hunter, or the fuck his name is, and
that's what he looks like.
And he's like, okay, that whole thing happens. They attack, they kill my people. My mother commits suicide, and then nothing happens, and I'm a slave on this planet to this random broker that does. There's no connecting tissue at all from point A to point B. And
it doesn't even sound like he's a slave because he says like I owe
like
debt. I owe the debt. This is what
he's like an indentured servant, whatever term you want to use for it. But somehow that we got to that point, and they don't even bother. They could have.
It'll be in the extended cut, dude. Come on.
Yeah, it's gonna be in the Snyder cut. So
wait, because you guys just watched the first one. I completely blacked out the first one from my memory. But is there a romance between Kora and the dude in the first one? I couldn't remember.
They don't kiss until the second one.
Well, and it comes out of fucking nowhere. But I'm pretty sure they're gonna have a ton of sex in the extended version because that's all he said was in there.
Oh god.
Maybe it's like I think it's you know that Zach wants there to be one. It's just that he doesn't do anything with it because the only times they ever speak to each other is just an excuse for Kora to have a flashback in part one. Until you get to the part where the bounty hunter has them all arraigned on like not Bespin. And he tells, because he goes around and just reads off the character sheet information for all of them. Ah, yes, Nemesis, the famous samurai woman who lost her daughter. Turok, the son of royalty. Kora, most famous person in the galaxy that nobody recognizes. Farm man, you love her. Oh, wait, so there was a romance subplot because he just told us that there was one. We didn't pick it up at the time, but, the bounty hunter guy insists that it's true, so I guess it must be.
Yeah, that was said right at the beginning because whoever the guy is that Kora knows at the beginning of the first movie, he's like, oh, blah, 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 well, clearly likes you. I don't understand why she would even be interested in him because he's unbelievably naive, incompetent, and just stupid.
Muscles.
It's because he's the lone white guy.
He's hot. You don't think I think he's attractive. He's pretty jacked.
Oh, I know, but he's just stupid. As a character, but then again, so is she. So I guess
everyone. There is no smart character in this movie.
Yeah,
except
every
for,
character
Nazi
is
Jesus,
dumb.
Who's pretty dumb. But
Anthony Robotkins is smart, but that's because he's barely in the movie.
Is he smart though? Because he just
Vex says
it's
because he's safe. He's safe. No, he's not because he's so stupid. He puts her in fucking danger all the time.
Yeah, he's the opposite of safe. He doesn't know how to protect her at all.
He makes stupid decisions and won't let her make one fucking choice on her own. She looks like an independent woman.
Maybe she's just like the I can fix him type.
That's a possibility.
I can make him smarter.
I do love how both Dario Naharis from Game of Thrones are in these movies. So he's the replacement Dario Naharis, and Ed Skrein was the first Dario Naharis, who is what would you call him? Nazi Jesus or whatever you called him.
Nazi Jesus.
I do kind of appreciate that Snyder puts like he casts well physically, and there's points in this movie where you can tell that they are out acting his directing. Where I'm like, oh, that wasn't terrible, and that is not because of Snyder. But
I
there's
feel like
also
the villain did that constantly.
Counterpoint.
and Kora feels like she could kick my ass, which I kind of enjoy because it's not like it's not Charlize Theron fighting a bunch of dudes.
Well, the thing is like with Kora, I just want to go back to Jedi Brooks's video he did about part 1. He breaks down a fight scene, and he compares her to Black Widow, and how in Black Widow's case, because of the fact that she was actually petite, a lot of times during her fight scenes, it was because of her cunning and skill set that she was able to outduel or get the upper hand over her larger opponents. With Kora, in most of the fight scenes, she's doing absolutely outlandish shit. She's literally 5'4", probably like 95 pounds, and taking on like 200-pound armed guys, like one arming people, double fucking swinging axes at her and blocking them. It's absurd.
I don't know if Platoon's going to the spot I think he is, but I could not get over the fact that this is all above coal fires. There's like an AI head, and this entire ship is hovering above. Like that, I don't know if this dude knows anything about physics, but there's like there's a reason we did not go to space using coal, because it doesn't work.
There's not enough
in an interview. How do the ships work? I don't give a fuck.
There's not enough combustive thrust to get out of the atmosphere.
No, you need
He
more.
Said this is fantasy, so I don't care how things work in this movie.
I'm going to have to stop sharing it and find it, because fucking media player is shit and it only lets me jump.
What is with this woman's unhinged fucking cobra jaw in this movie? Is that CGI, or is that really like when she screams, she's like, "Rah!" It's fucking let's
Did you notice that she just looks like Furiosa the whole time? Like
yeah, she does.
Purposefully like gave her that like the haircut.
It's like he picked all of his favorite characters from growing up.
Other shit.
And just like made a Fortnite character selection of it all. Plop, 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 plop. Like this character is a robot from my favorite fucking movie, and this guy is from The Matrix, and this one's from Mad Max. It is. It's like Fortnite or Call of Duty once you get to like season 5. And they're just really over realism,
It's like the opening cinematic for the original Super Smash Brothers, where Master Hand's just picking up toys.
Yeah.
Was she in the first movie?
Toward the end, she was
part of the.
Yeah, she was part of the Resistance at the end.
I literally had no idea who she. Every time she popped on screen, I was like, "Who the fuck are you?"
I still have no idea who she is or why she's in the movie.
I don't know her name.
Zack Snyder is the only reason Ray Fisher keeps getting any work at all, because he was in the first movie, but they fucking killed him, and she was like his little butt buddy or whatever. They're friends, and that's where she came from.
Yeah, there was like the 3 people in the Resistance that actually got lines. It was him, the sister who shows up at the end of this one, and the chick we're talking about. I don't know any of their names.
I also love how at the beginning of this second movie, they're like, or was it at the end of the first, when they're like, oh, no one will have to fight. The guy's dead. Like, what about all the people who fucking died already?
Yeah, that was at the beginning of this one.
And what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, what about what about the guy who literally sacrificed his life to save all of you? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, the concept of not having to fight. So even let's say they do follow this ridiculous, strange, we have to return the ship to go get another admiral situation. They act as though there's not another ship that could just fly right there. Like, how is there not?
Yeah, they make it kind of seem like this is the only one.
Yeah.
But they say a dreadnought, so that
they've already mentioned that there's more than one,
right?
And obviously, there's more than one admiral. I would assume that they have other probably in the area. I would guess that not too far, so they probably wouldn't even have to mobilize from Motherworld. They probably just mobilize from maybe a section over, whatever they use, and so all you would have successfully done, even if you do succeed in this campaign down on. Velt is the name of the moon. If you do succeed, now you've lost all of your supplies because you've probably used them all. You've lost a big chunk of your people. You've placed a bigger target on your back. They're just going to send like 3 or 4 dreadnoughts now. It's not going to. You haven't fixed the situation at all. It's not going to just stop. They're just going to be like, oh well, yeah, they beat us. That's fine. We'll just.
You're gonna need Paul Atreides.
Yeah, we're just gonna move on with our lives and pretend that never happened. They're just gonna come and kill you.
And it would almost be excusable if they were gonna try and cover it up in a way that, you know, maybe the dreadnought just disappeared. But they talk about how when she's talking to Nazi Jesus and she's like, everyone's gonna know that you died to a bunch of peasants on Velt. So it's like they know that the whole galaxy is gonna know that they took out a dreadnought, and then they're just expecting no repercussions.
Yeah, they are dumb as fuck. This is not actually the coal bit. It's the bit immediately before, because we haven't got onto the fact that the entire ship is also, it's equivalently powered by coal and a cromulon from the Cygnus 5 Expanse, the giant head from Rick and Morty. This thing is also
Zordon from Power Rangers.
It's just, I love the way Snyder just drops this shit in with absolutely no explanation. She goes and she puts bombs on a giant fucking head. She goes and explodes a head, and that's it. No comment is left. No explanation. It's just a giant head, and it's absolutely. But I don't understand what's going on. What is it? Well, because we were on EFAP with this, and I think Random had done some research, because he's even sadder than I am when it comes to this film. And like, apparently there is like a Rebel Moon wiki, and this is part of like, they've basically stolen this from, is it 40k Warhammer? Like they captured a giant head, which gives them infinite energy, apparently. And yet also, even though they have infinite energy, they also, because the coal thing is around here somewhere, they also need coal. They have people powering the ship. Oh no, that's not the right. They have people powering the ship with coal. And she just hops down there and just kills all of the unarmed people who are busy shoveling coal in an empire that she knows takes slaves. So for all we know, these people are slaves. And she's just gone and murdered them for the crime of shoveling coal in a ship that doesn't fucking need it, because it's got a giant head.
She's known to murder innocent children in cold blood.
This is true.
This is not beyond her at all.
And she also kills doctors, which is against usually what is it, armed conflict rules. You don't target doctors ever.
Oh yeah,
so
no, she is.
I'm actually impressed. I'm impressed with his ability to have her stay in character throughout this whole movie so far.
I'm just thinking about this right now. Why didn't they just make it a coal mining planet and they needed more coal instead of grain?
Because he hadn't thought about it at the time. He just thought, what would look cool? Oh, I don't know, shoveling coal. Okay, fuck it. That's how the ships work now. Like you need to actually think it through to decide what the planet is and why. It's just grain because it was
Dark
cool
Hour
back then.
All of Snyder's movies are very brown. What color is like grain? Like in the ballpark, right?
Well, yeah, he wanted to make a grainy film.
Yeah, he could make a fucking grainy film. Like he's so on the nose,
like a fucking Zoolander-esque coal mining scene with a bunch of ripped dudes in a coal. Yeah, I don't know if that would have been any better.
I mean, it would have been.
Coal miners wouldn't have put up with any shit. They're not simple farmers.
I think it's his way of trying to appeal to like middle America, which I feel like is where a lot of his
pretending everyone in middle America is fucking idiots. Like
yeah, they're all farmers and they all love Jesus. That's all I could think of.
Oh, I wanted to bring this on too. This was the guy that unironically was praising Snyder here. Let me find it. I got it on.
While you pull it up, I would also like to point out that they aim the bombs on the dreadnought that can fly through space fast enough that somehow it passes a black hole and makes it to another planet in less than 5 days, which would be faster than light speed travel. But they aim it with like old school like B-2 World War II bomber wheels, where they're like slowly turning to like make sure that it's aimed properly, which doesn't even exist on Earth anymore. That's not how they aim bombs from planes. Hasn't been in like
they do it, and so they do it. It takes fucking like 5 minutes for the gun to aim, and then they see the village and they say, we've got a lock on the village. But as I pointed out on EFAP, the village isn't moving. You don't need to get a lock on the village. It's just there. It's a fucking barn. You just aim and you pull the trigger, and you should you've got a giant like head in your spaceship. What's it doing? Why can't it aim the gun? You shouldn't be needing an old World War II wheel to power your coal-fired ship to aim at the barn.
We can't get to other planets, and we already have planes that are aimed by like the pupil movement of the pilots that are flying the planes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, come on, dude, come on.
One of my favorite things about when someone pulls up their Twitter for a stream is seeing who they don't follow. Someone doesn't follow Geeks and Gamers. Just saying.
Who the fuck would? What the fuck?
I'm just joking. It's not...
This guy is not. Who was the guy that you mentioned? Leon. This is not.
Yeah.
This is James.
Not
but
Leon.
he said about that scene with the Julius Caesar reference and the band actually the Titanic band actually there playing their instruments. He said, my man just managed to combine the assassination of Julius Caesar and the massacre of the Romanovs into one scene. This is further proof as to why Zack Snyder is in the GOAT conversation, despite what the casuals say.
Yeah,
Well,
sure.
So this actually speaks to all of the arguments I've heard for years. It condensed down into one right here, which is, if you do the thing, it automatically means that it's good. It doesn't matter how well it's executed. Nothing else matters. It's just the fact that like the concept was there. That's good enough.
The
like,
intent
hey, I want to
write
the intent, man. Like he intended something. So, give him the fucking, don't just give him the participation trophy. Give him the fucking championship.
It's perfect though, because it shows what Snyder is and what his fans are, which is like, ooh, I get this, and the fact that I get this makes me feel like I'm intelligent enough to be like, y'all normies don't really understand what he's going for. Like, no, we get it. Like
superiority complex.
Yeah, it's fucking mind blowing.
Yeah, you fucking casuals. You casual film watchers, you. Not like
you have to really appreciate film to sit down and dig into a Snyder movie.
I can literally tell you what lens, like make and where it is made in the world that he used on this movie, and I'm still sure that guy would call me a casual.
There's another
I mean, I just consider myself a casual, so
as we approach the end of the film, so but by the point we've got to this point, all of the fighting is done. They've won. Kora has destroyed the ship. The ship has crashed. It's exploded, conveniently not killing anyone on its way down. She's escaped with generic farmhand man. So the fight is finished at this point. The only ships still in the air are escape pods, basically. And here we are. Farm man incompetently managed to get himself shot during the final exchange because he forgot that he could actually take action and shoot people himself. So he's there and he's sort of bleeding out. And then what should happen? But at the very last minute, the Rebel Alliance shows up. Like after the battle, everyone has already won, and here come the rebels to shoot the escape pods out of the sky. And she looks up and she's like, "Oh my goodness, the rebels are here! Finally, we've finally won, even though they'd already won. Isn't it great?" And then, eventually, unfortunately, she looks back and he's dead. So that's payoff, I suppose. Because remember how in part one she told us overtly that she couldn't fall in love because she'd seen too much war and she loved people who died. And now she falls in love and he dies. And this is the extent of character work we're going to get, really.
You skipped over the best part of the entire movie, which is when they're on that bridge and the old man just screams at Titus. And there's like a weird second pause and Titus turns and just, yeah!
Oh, yeah. That was so funny, man.
It's literally right there. That's the bit.
Yeah.
It's so good. So Titus, yeah. Then Titus just like,
it's more than a second because it's in slow-mo.
And he's just gonna go fucking nuts here in a second, dude. Yeah.
Jaimin Hansu has to have the worst agent in the history of Hollywood.
I know, he's such a good character actor.
I don't think I've ever seen him. Well, he's had maybe 2 or 3 movies you consider good, and the rest of it is he's just carrying this terrible shit on his back the whole movie.
God damn.
I feel like he probably has fun though.
That old guy is actually his agent. He was actually screaming at him for making him part of this movie.
This was a fucking good role to pick, man. Don't you think?
think he just goes based off of what his character's name is going to be. It's like Titus. Nice.
I go off feel.
Yeah.
God.
Like this. What is that? What is this lens choice? What is this lens choice?
Yeah, it's like warped and
Yeah, see, and on the right side of the screen, her left, it's all fucking warpy.
so like
That's awful.
Yeah, it's this lens called a Helios lens that they used on the Batman. Like super cool lens because it does this, but it's super cool. They use it in Dune too. Or like when the Emperor's talking to his daughter in the forest, there's just like it like ripples the forest around them and like draws your eye to proper like framing when you know how to frame properly. But he doesn't understand. He doesn't even understand the fucking gear that he's using. It is maddening, dude. And what is the lighting on her face? That is ass. It's so ass. Everything is so ass. It's sorry.
And you know what's really sad about that is this is what he is known for. Like this is where he is supposedly supposed to be hanging his hat, because everyone, if they are to defend Zack Snyder, will say, well, you know, he's a brilliant visual director. Well, I don't know if it's like, does he just think that he's great, so anything he does in this realm will also be great automatically? So lack of effort or what? Like, I don't know what it is, but it isn't as good as it used to be. That is for sure. And I don't know if it's budget constraints, because like clearly he decided where the budget was going to go. Like I said, the robot looks really good. And then other elements like those weird sluggy or eel-like things in the first movie that were wrapping around the main villain on top of the dreadnought or like in his office or wherever. Those looked horrendous, like sci-fi channel level quality. And then at the same time, like the robot looked amazing. So he's just gone downhill in the one area where even I used to be like, yeah, he's pretty good there. But also his movies don't even look real, and they also aren't like animated movies. So they sit in this weird realm where they just look surreal. Nothing looks realistic at all anymore. He's not with the CGI use. He's certainly not going for realism or to fool you.
It's a very uncanny valley kind of feel you get from a lot of his stuff.
This brew also showed how they used a cracked lens for some shots. A cracked lens?
It's called character. You want character in your lenses.
Yeah. Some character in the lens.
That was the story, wasn't it? Didn't Snyder find like an old lens that he really liked because it was famous and old, but it was broken, but he uses it anyway because he's a dick. I don't know. I think that's something he actually does. He deliberately does use broken lenses.
Well, I mean, even broken lenses deserve a job in Hollywood, apparently. So,
yeah, I feel like he's switched VFX supervisors from like movie to movie. I also feel like it's a classic case of creativity like thrives within constraints. I feel like the less constrained Snyder becomes and the more yes men he has around him, the worse creatively he becomes. Or like his earlier stuff, it just slowly gets worse and worse because he gets more and more power and less constraints.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it does happen to a lot of people. I mean, it happens to George Lucas as well, but at least he'd done some good things before he went evil. But yeah, like you need financial restraints in particular. You can't be giving people like $200 million to make fucking Rebel Moon. That's absurd. Like, how many Godzilla -1s is that? It's like 15.
You could pay. I think it was 165 million for this, and Godzilla -1 was 15. So yeah, talking about 10 plus, 10 and a half.
Okay, I'm always going to argue this though. Like, I'm pretty sure there was a significant amount of slave labor that went into Godzilla.
That's what I said too. I was like, what's the equivalent of like
if we're paying people, enough to eat and do visual effects? Probably like 50 million.
No. The director said he installed a kitchen in the VFX office, so people could eat while they worked. It sounds like a really
the kitchen was a microwave where you could warm up your ramen.
It's not slavery. They're just being paid what they deserve, and eventually they'll get paid more. But we are actually, so this is like toward the end of the movie. So like they have the obligatory, we're going to steal this from Return of the Jedi funeral pyre. Oh no,
wait, we got the guy to say that the girl's alive. He just
that's where we are.
And this whole time too, by the way, she actually thinks that she's fooled these people into thinking that that the Dreadnought and the villain have mistaken her. She is not the most wanted villain on the planet. You are mistaken, sir. Actually, and she actually thought that when they were like, "Oh, okay."
That's the bit, isn't it? So they have the team building things. It's the flashback sequence and they're all talking about their backstories, and she gives hers, and she doesn't tell them about the thing where she murders the defenseless, innocent small child. And Titus says, "Huh, are you sure there's nothing else you want to tell us?" And she's like, "No, that's definitely it for me." He's like, "Really? Yep, I'm done." Yes. Yes, old stories, they're hard to let go of, aren't they? Yes, they sure are. Why have you stopped drinking? Hey, everyone, Titus isn't an alcoholic anymore. He's drinking water.
Oh. Yeah. Get off my fucking back. Weren't you an alcoholic like a week ago?
We didn't even touch on the fucking beards, which might have been the most offensive thing in this movie, by the way. I've never seen worse beard work.
It's pretty bad beard work. I'll go. But the thing is, so this end scene is when Titus reveals that he knew that she was the assassin, but he also reveals that he knows that the princess isn't really dead, which breaks so many things if you actually apply this going backwards.
Why wouldn't he want to heal that pain for her like instantly when he found out?
Well, that's definitely true. But even before that, if he knows the princess is alive and wants to find her, why did he spend all of his time getting pissed and fighting in Colosseums? What was he doing up until this moment when he reveals that he knew it the whole time?
How the fuck does he know?
And how does he know?
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Like,
he knows. Random general who betrayed the Empire knows. But Anthony Robotkins, who lives his entire life devoted to the princess, he doesn't know. But I guess maybe they didn't bring it up before, because if it had been mentioned, then Anthony Robotkins might have killed Kora, because that would be a justifiable thing for him to want to do. but now it turns out he overhears this and says, "Wait, the princess is alive and you tried to kill her?" And you're thinking, "Oh, well, he's going to be pissed off with Kora then, isn't he?" They say, no, you have my bow. And then Titus says, "And you have my axe." And then we're going to go and find the fucking princess. And like, yeah, as you say, Backface, she's almost certainly going to be the stupid little farm girl. So she's already here. So
they give
everyone's already here.
Movie,
that's the thing.
When she touches the robot and gives him like life, I guess you could say. Because that's like he's like telling the story of the princess and how she could bring things back to life. And then you see this blonde girl who clearly does not fit into this village. It doesn't make any sense. She doesn't look like anybody, and she touches a robot and it comes to life. You're like, oh, okay. And we're going to hold off on that for another movie? 2 movies? 2 fucking movies?
Oh. When you have 3 plot points for 5 movies, you need to hold off on a few of them. That's just how it works.
It's such a fucking piss off, too, to just be like, oh, yeah, by the way, the first 2 movies, that wasn't even the story. Now we're getting to the story. Like, that was what, character development? What was this all supposed to be?
It wasn't character development.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, because they like the depth of the character development is the scene where they sit around for, I don't know what, 5. How many characters are there?
5, I believe.
Do you think that was
5? Okay, so 2.5 minutes, because each one gets about 30 seconds to talk about themselves. And we're like, oh, there you go. We got a fucking fully 3-dimensional character. Yeah,
odds that was reshoots too. That like he saw some of the feedback and he was like, "Oh fuck, I got to develop these characters," and he just like got them all in a room.
They could have backgrounds.
Well, guys, hear me out. We'll have a dinner scene where they all tell their backstories. And somebody in the room was like, "Yeah, Zach, yeah, let's do that, man."
Well, no, that's exactly something he would do, because remember how he introduced, you know those epic characters 8 years ago that people were just waiting to finally see on the big screen together, the Justice League. You know how he finally got to introduce those epic characters together through a fucking shitty little email
attachments, baby.
Yeah, that's Zack Snyder's go-to. Something as generic and idiotic as like an email in a folder, a zip drive, maybe.
I would rather have that than a fucking table reading of a character bio.
Well, you get the flashbacks though.
They're all like I remember that you see the first one and it was all in slow-mo. And I was like, oh fuck, they're gonna do them all. And then they start the second one and I was like, oh no. Oh no. And then you gotta sit through them all in fucking slow-mo. Duh.
It was such a relief though when they got to like generic farm man at the end, and he's so generic that he doesn't get one. So he's just like, they turn to him and he's like, "Yeah, you guys are all cool. Thanks for coming.
No one asks
Well,
him
he's
his
like, you
story.
know my life. I'm just a simple white farm boy. That's what I do. That's my thing.
Yeah, we don't need any attachment to that guy. Fuck it. He's sleeping with the
God.
main character. That's all the character development you need.
Yeah. He doesn't even have riz. He's just like constantly stumbling into he's lucky he lived as long as he did, honestly.
I was so
The guy
scared.
was fucking up
I
constantly.
was scared for my life. Like, how is she not
Honestly,
like, you're a pussy? She's been through like how many wars? We see her like slow-mo running through the front line and like killing a bunch of people. She kills enough people. She kills the princess, and everyone thinks she killed the king. She kills enough people to get off a ship, and no one chases her down. And for some reason, she doesn't think this dude is a complete vagina when he's like, I was so scared.
I was scared.
Like, I was so scared.
Oh, but he saved the child in the first one. That's definitely his entire moral arc. Where she would have killed the child because that's what she does.
I love how the guy that in the first movie, he was responsible for his death because he wouldn't follow the leader of the village's advice. You know, the guy that that they put in charge to speak for them.
Yep.
He had to butt in. Then he got that guy killed. And then like 10 minutes later in the film, when they're talking about him, he's like, yeah, like I understand why the villain would like kill that guy, you know, to send us a message or whatever. Like, dude, you are why he's dead. Like, he's not even just like, oh God, I feel so horrible. He's just like, yeah, I get why the villain would do that, you know, sending a message.
The only thing that I kind of, I guess not liked, but makes me feel something is there is points in this movie where you can tell Zack Snyder is writing dialogue about his dead daughter. I'm like, oh
Jesus,
man, it like sucks because you're like, I hate this fucking movie so much and like every word that's said in it. But then I'm like, is this just a dude like dealing with his daughter's death instead of going through therapy? He makes like $150 million movies to try and
like,
get
Zack Snyder is literally the meme. A guy
Kora?
will do anything but go to therapy.
Yeah, he's literally that meme. Like he'll take Netflix's money and put it in a pile and burn it just to feel better about his daughter dying, which is fair.
Like,
I
it only
guess.
goes so far because like if Princess Issa is his daughter surrogate, I don't think having her reappear as like a Force ghost in Part 4 means he's really getting over the loss. Because
she's fully alive. 100%.
Oh yeah, I mean, I just do we? This was the other thing I was actually going to bring, because this has franchise plans, right? There are big plans for Rebel Moon, and having now seen the first 6 movies is one thing.
They've said 6 movies.
Not actually 6, right? Like that actually.
No, I think there's 6, not the extended.
Oh, I thought you meant 6.
No.
Like, haha, there's 6 because there's going to be 3 extended.
No, like I've been told that there's going to be like. I've read that there's going to be 6 movies.
He said there will be 6, but this was the existing.
I don't think there will
of,
end up be.
So is the next movie Rebel Moon Part 2?
Part 2.
Rebel Moon Part 2 Junior.
So we've got this is the franchise plan. So we've had Rebel Moon Part 1, Child of Fire. There was the novelization, which I've actually read some of because while I was reviewing Part 1, because I wanted to see, right, because there's no characters in Part 1, whether or not the official novelization had characters in it, and it actually does. Like the official novelization has stuff in it that would really, really help the movie, but it's the exact cut it. So like you've got the one that really sticks in my mind. Besides that, you get more time with Anthony Robotkins on his little journey of self-discovery. So that's one thing. Excuse me, but the prologue for the book is it's Space Twink, the Aris, I think his name is, the one who, like, he's the only nice space Nazi, the one who saves Farm Girl. And when you watch it, you think, well, that's completely out of character because why are you the only nice person? But in the novelization, the prologue is his backstory when, lo and behold, the Motherworld arrives at his planet and kills everyone and steals him. But he loses his family, and so it's portrayed in the book as being his attempt to sort of overcome the loss of his younger sister. And so he's trying to get over it, which is actually character work. And as you can see with the publication dates, like they were written side by side. So Zach apparently looked at this and thought, nah, we don't need character. And went with the film version, and the novel went with things that actually have characters in them, which is a really weird decision.
2 different writers, or did the V Castro guy write the screenplay as well?
I don't think he did. I think he's a different. I think he's like
Snyder and one other person.
Yeah, I think V. Castro is like some jobbing side. Like, it's not a good book. I should stress that. I've just praised it for doing characters. It's really, really not a good book. It has stuff like for the inner monologue of Nazi Jesus talking about like how he's so dead inside, and it's like, oh yeah. It's written in the style that I would imagine Zack Snyder would write a book in. It's just that this guy understands that there needs to be people in it. It can't just be people doing shit. It has to be characters. But the rest of the franchise plans after this, I'm wondering how much of this you think we're going to get. There's Rebel Moon House of the Blood Axe comic thing, I think, has already come out.
Yeah.
After
apparently.
that, we've got a music video for a single from whatever the fuck called Jalal.
Rebellion.
Wait, is
Which
that out?
I don't know. It looks like it's supposed to be out already.
Jalal?
I'm finding it.
Jowl.
Because I'm pretty sure nothing, apart from the House of the Black thing, nothing has actually come out. So they've got the Rebel Moon Experience, which is a VR game. That's apparently out as well. I don't think it is, though.
Yeah, it was supposed to be out 4 days ago, so we got that.
Untitled podcast? That sounds really interesting. A narrative podcast about
in fairness, you guys had an Untitled podcast for quite a while. At the
we did, but our Untitled podcast didn't cost $165 million.
That's also true.
Okay, so then we have
I
see 3.
Part 2, The Scargiver. That's out now. That is going to be followed by the official novelization. Mr. Castro's been given some more time to write this one because he only had like 3 days between publication for the first one. This one is this one's like 2 months. So that's
he must get a copy of the script, I would hope.
I would assume.
Well, yeah, like a lot of the times when they're doing this, they will be writing alongside. Like the most famous one probably is Arthur C. Clarke and Stanley Kubrick in 2001. They both basically sat down and wrote the thing alongside each other. So they are different, but they are very much informed by each other, which I think is what happened with part 1 of this film. Then you've got Untitled Mobile Game, which developed by Super Evil Megacorp, which sounds good. There's an animated short film about the history of the Kali. Now, the Kali, I think, is the giant head. Okay. I'm going to check this just to be sure. The Kali, yes. Kali are interdimensional beings that were harvested by the Mother World to power their technology, except that they also use coal. They appeared briefly in the official novelization for part 1, and Zach forgot to include them. And then they were in the animated short film, which I don't think has come out, and now they're in part 2. So yeah, we'll get giant female humanoid figures akin to goddesses, and the Mother World figured out how to capture them using its fucking coal-powered spaceships.
They have
coal was
interdimensional technology.
Yeah, the coal was actually probably just to keep those people busy, and they were going to go drop them off because their servitude was done, and they were bringing them home. And then Kora popped up and shot them all and killed them.
I love. So the planning process for all this stuff has got to be the least organized I've ever seen. It just gets. Most of this should be coming out within a year or two, right? And most of it has none of it, like nothing about it, just to be announced. Very, very generic, vague explanations of what they are.
A lot of assumptions made too that this would be popular.
Yeah,
which is why I think so many of these just haven't been updated. Like we've got Untitled Animated Comic Book with a release date of to be announced, Untitled Animated Series with a release date of to be announced, Rebel Moon Part 3, a Nemesis comic. Everyone really loves Nemesis. She's such a deep character. Also TBA, already cancelled, something called Everyday Heroes RPG Rebel Moon, which is a cancelled tabletop RPG. One. Yes, I'm pretty sure all of these that are TBA are probably cancelled at this point as well.
We get a part 3. I think we definitely get a part
3.
Part
3 almost certainly, but after that I don't know.
Bigger than Barbie. So he said.
Oh my god.
On Joe Rogan.
Fucking the Rebel Harvest, Save Velt, January 14th. It's a custom farming simulator 22 experience. That's like so on point. I hope that's released.
I love how it's for a game that's already outdated.
But it's not even that. It's just that's what we got in Rebel Moon Part 2. It's just a fucking farming simulator. And then it's just a bunch of AR experiences and commercials for cereal.
You know, if they just put Rebel Moon branding on like Goat Simulator or something, it makes money.
Rebel Moon, the flamethrower.
Belisarius origin series that Zach wants to do. Yeah, like there's a lot of stuff that they want to do, but like I said this on EF episode, I'm pretty sure this is just Zach's pitch to Netflix. It's just I've not got ideas for a film, I've also got ideas for a whole franchise, and it'll make loads of money. It's like remember how Star Wars gets loads of money from merch? This will be the same. And Netflix are dumb, and they said, yeah, fine, do it. And then Rebel Moon actually came out, and no one wants it, and no one wants any of the merch and the like the tie-in shit. So we're never going to see any of that, I don't think. But you know,
when I logged in on Netflix to watch this, I had to actually search for it. Even in the top 10, it said top 10 on the marker, but when I was like searching for it, I would have thought it would be, you know, the premiere thing that pops up or whatever.
Yeah,
I know it goes by the recommendation system, but not like what's trending top 10. And like, it made me wonder if this was going to get anywhere near the views that the first one did, because anyone that was curious watched the first one. I can't really think that a lot of people would actually be interested in watching this one if they just casually watched the first. And if they did, it probably wouldn't be, it would be like, yeah, maybe I'll watch it down the line or something. But we'll probably never know. They don't release streaming numbers or anything unless they're like, they can skew them to look amazing or something.
It didn't even break the top 10 of Netflix's all time.
yeah, they released the viewing figures for part one. It got 23.9 million, I think, within its first week, which is
That's how he said.
It's middle of the road. Well, then he extrapolated based on like the rest of the viewing figures, which they didn't release, I don't think. And he said that they estimated it's 90 million people, and if you assume that that's 2 people per person, then 90 it's million amount. Right. And if you assume that everyone paid $10 a ticket, that would be better than Barbie if we put it in the cinema. So that's Zack Snyder's official justification. But the 23.9 in the first week is solidly just like middle of the ground for Netflix. It's 10th place, I think it is, out of the top 20 of the same period. Which is not good if you're spending that amount of money on this brand new IP. I wouldn't have thought.
I wouldn't think so. No, I wouldn't think so.
This will likely go down as one of the worst experiments in the history of new IPs.
Yeah, because they went balls to the wall with it. Well, the six picture deal though isn't like a Rebel Moon specific deal though, right? It's just like a deal with Snyder, I would imagine.
I didn't do any research on that.
I think he said it was for Rebel Moon specifically. I think he said that there was like he might be looking at the original plan was for 3, but it might be 6 if they split all of the remaining 3 into 2 parts or whatever the fuck he was saying. I'll find it.
So here's a little thing. So when the first one came out, I wanted to make sure I saw it early to because it's coming around Christmas. I wanted to get a review out before Christmas for it. And there's a theater in New York, Paris Theater. It's owned by Netflix. They did a whole week of pre-screenings for it before it came out on Netflix. And so I went to go see it and actually paid money, all that stuff. And everybody that was there was silent at the end of it. All 7 people that were in the theater. And for this release, I just was checking to see if they were doing the same thing. I wasn't actually intending to go, but I just wanted to see if they were going to do that same week long. And they had one single showing about I think it was at the very beginning of this month, so about 20 days ago. They had one showing, and it was like a 3:00 in the afternoon show. That's how little they have any kind of faith in this IP, that they went from we're going to have a week of pre-screenings and people are going to love it to we're just going to do this out of obligatory and it's going to be gone.
I wonder if he goes back to the cinema again in his career.
Why would you? Then people know how much you bomb.
Yeah. Like by the time he's done with this IP, I wonder if I don't even know what the landscape of cinema will look by then. Actually,
anybody ever asked
a few years from now
what happened to his zombie universe?
I thought this was all like connected, right?
Right. It's the same. Maybe that's where he goes after Rebel Moon bombs. Then maybe he's just like back on Earth. There's still zombies.
I'm going to go back to my second most hated franchise.
They eat brains and we eat grain.
I'd rather an explanation of why there is cyborg zombies than anything in Rebel Moon. So I'll take that.
Snyder likes to say that all of his movies can be connected, despite the fact they're literal IPs that are owned by separate people. Well,
No, there is one single connection, right? And I figured this out a long time ago. It's the fact that in Sucker Punch, the main character gets a lobotomy, and this explains pretty much everything that Zack Snyder has done since. Like it's just the fever dreams of a lobotomized poor girl trapped in some fucking dungeon somewhere on a stretcher. That is Sucker Punch, isn't it? Am I not? That's not.
Yeah,
a different
that
one.
would be.
Yeah.
I would praise the entirety of Zack Snyder's career if he did a Sucker Punch sequel and this was all in her head. That'd be like the hardest bodied artistic move. I'd be like, wow, you really wrapped that all up, dude. I don't know. I'd give him some props.
He said that Sucker Punch naturally in very Zack Snyder nature said that was the studio didn't let him finish it. And if the stuff is shot and he could make a good movie out of it, just like every movie he makes, there's just not only according to Snyder fans is every movie he makes a masterpiece, but there is studio interference that made it not a masterpiece, even though it is. And there's a better masterpiece coming. That's exactly 3 hours because 3 hours makes things look epic. And so does 4 hours. It has to be 4 hours and 1 minute.
It's weird because, like, I don't know if he even realizes this. Do you guys know why, like, 3 hours feels so epic to some people?
Because The Godfather, because the double VHS tapes when I was a kid. When I was a kid, if it had double VHS tape, it meant that movie was fucking epic.
Yep. And somehow that stuck, and now we're fucking left with
he epitomizes that. He's Gen X.
Yeah, exactly.
So he epitomizes that era, like where you're like, oh yeah, epic. So every movie, of course, all the director's cuts of his films always push just over the mark, whether it's 3 hours or 4 hours or whatever. With this one, I actually thought it was pretty ballsy of him that he let the movie stop before the 2 hour mark.
Just before.
I thought it was pretty ballsy of him. I was like, wow, I think that might be the first time he stopped it before he went into that epic scale. Like everything has to be, 2.5 hours or 3 hours or 4 exactly on the dot. Hence all the fucking slow-mo. That'll get you 4 hours. Just add 40 minutes of fucking slow-mo.
I would just like to say that the difference in how much I got from watching Dune 1 and 2, which is technically shorter than Rebel Moon Part 1 and 2. Is it shorter or is it just longer? They're pretty equal in length. They're pretty close. Just around 4 hours. It almost makes you forget like how much storytelling you can do in 2 hours when you watch this movie. It feels like an impossibility that any movie is 2 hours and actually tells a story when you watch this.
Yeah, like I said, 1 entire minute of this film, and he worked with, I think, I put all the timestamps down, like 1 hour, 54 minutes, I think. 1 entire minute of that runtime is just dedicated to a ship, watching a ship come down from another ship and land on the fucking ground. Like, god damn, dude.
I feel like that's definitely, like, okay, I've now seen Dune 5 times because I'm a fucking loser. But there's probably like a 2.5 minute scene in that movie where you watch the Emperor come down. But the entire time I watch it, I'm like, oh, yeah, exactly. Like, it's possible to do that and subjugate that much, or like put that much time into a movie, like a minute long scene for something that monotonous. But it's when you know how to build tension with it, I guess. Or I feel like that's what he's trying to do with the Dreadnought, right? It's like, ooh, it's slowly.
But we've already seen the Dreadnought like 8 fucking times.
Yeah, that's he doesn't quite understand it, I guess. But
it's just the drag.
I see where he's trying.
In my opinion, it's the drag his feet because it reminded me, like the thing I've complained about with the entire minute coming down. It reminds me of the Justice League movie when it spends all that time in slow-mo watching them walk upstairs.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck? Why are we doing this? What does this contribute at all to this film? Nothing. Other than it's cinematic masturbation for him is what it is. He's just like, look how fucking cool this is.
Yo, the slow-mo of Titus filling his fucking water bottle. Did you notice that?
I didn't.
Oh,
I don't
man,
remember
there's a slow-mo shot of him putting water in his flask. Like, what is going on? There was a few too, because I kind of watched it like 1.5 times, just for shits the second time because I think it's really funny. But there's a few shots where, like, I don't know if you guys know / chat knows how slow-mo works. When you shoot slow-mo, so a movie's in 24 frames a second, you have to shoot those extra frames for the slow-mo. So if you convert that into 24 frames a second, the footage looks a little off, and like you can only tell if you're really watching for it. But there is like at least 10 times I noticed in this movie where I was like, that was supposed to be slow-mo. And someone was like, no, I can't.
I can't fucking
some editor
do it,
was
man.
like, fuck, dude. Yeah.
Yo, what was up with the we'll get off Rebel Moon here shortly because what
I've run out of things to say about this movie.
I know because I wanted to get on to the other topic in Platoon Sick, and but what was up with in the same shots? Some things would be slow motion and other things would be like regular speed. Like there was no consistency within the shot. Like one person was slow-mo and the other person was not at that same, like it was fucking ridiculous. And it wasn't intentional, like in the Matrix where someone's moving regular speed or something like that. Cause you actually, that's telling a story. That's painting a picture of how fast someone is or something. That's not what Snyder's doing. It's literally just like, oh, this person in this shot looks really cool being this slow, but I need this person being normal and like firing a gun at a regular rate. It's so fucking ridiculous. But I could go on and on. Yeah.
10 out of 10. This movie's a
I
masterpiece.
honestly think that as we talked about it more, my brain just shut off further. and
Yeah, I
further.
know.
I was like, I can't do it anymore.
I know you got to leave, and
Yeah.
I wanted to get your thoughts on the Wolverine and Deadpool trailer that just dropped today before you left.
So yeah, I actually just watched it right before when we were in the backstage, and I'm glad that they're actually showing some stuff. That's the best way I can put it. But I was sitting there picking out a lot of little Easter eggs. The one that I immediately drew to, it's right when they're walking through the busted up city, was says live fields only feet. Did you see that?
Yeah, that was dope. That's so funny.
And that was one of my
Nice little Easter egg there.
If that is an indication of some of the shit they're gonna put in this, if that like one frame can be extrapolated out, this may be hilarious for anybody who knows any inner workings of the comic book industry and like backstage machinations and all this stuff. Like that is if that's just a one-off, I'm gonna be very sad. Other than that, if you enjoy the Deadpool movies, you're gonna like this. I could just tell just by looking at it. It was actually funny when I was watching Fallout. I kept trying to figure out where I knew the one woman from in Fallout, and she's the blind lady. The one who's the overseer of 33 is the blind lady from Deadpool. And I was like, the whole time I was trying to figure it out, I couldn't figure it out because she wasn't wearing the sunglasses. But yeah, I'm excited for it only because I want to see the direction they go. But I'm also scared that it's going to be one of those false prophet moments for the MCU again. No, it's back to being saved, and we're gonna, the people are gonna praise Feige again. He let it be rated R.
Yeah, people might be prisoners of the moment.
Yeah, which that seems to be the cycle. It's a horrible movie. Feige needs to be fired. He has to give up this. They do one thing that goes well. He's a genius again. It's the cycle of Feige.
Yep. Yeah, that sounds about right. That's why, like a month ago or so, I made a video just being like, "Hey, just FYI, I'm looking forward to this too. I hope it's good. It's not going to save the MCU, no matter what everyone's thinking. Yeah. Like, I think this will, if you like Deadpool, this will probably be a really good Deadpool movie.
I am wondering if they're going to have Wolverine actually wear the mask at any point in this. Because
I think so. They've advertised it, or like some leaks have come out of marketing, like on, I think, toys or something.
Mm-hmm. That's usually where the leaks come from. Is usually the toy manufacturers. Yeah. The one thing I will say is it does look like Hugh Jackman is having a crazy fun time with this. He's finally able to cut loose, and because like he was able to cut loose for Logan, and like curse and be more violent and all that. But like now there's almost zero restrictions to how he can act in this, and the script really plays into that. So it does look like they had a lot of fun with this. which I'm hoping translates into fun for the audience, because quite frankly, I think they deserve it. I think the people who have had to deal with this garbage, this actually sludge, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, Neil got it.
I think they deserve. I'm a little weary about it involving. I lost in actually someone just said it in the chat, the TVA portion. That's the one thing I'm a little wary about, because that tends to fuck a lot of things up.
Yeah.
But I was not a fan of Loki in the slightest. I thought it was horrible, but some people liked it. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, you're allowed to like objectively bad things. It's allowed.
Yeah, I'm a dumbass. I'll take it. I like bad things.
But yeah, I mean, I'm that's my opinion. I mean, I have a couple more minutes if you want to go on, but
yeah, I like that they actually released a Red Band trailer, thankfully. So you actually they clearly just wanted to. They needed the panic button pressed with this movie, and they've done it, and they are doing a good job. Like I'm still looking forward to it too. I think Neil really nailed it on the head there. That it's probably just like a calm before the storm, or just know a reprieve before back to the usual sludge is probably about right.
Yeah, I agree.
But
What's
I'm
the
not
next
going to
movie?
after this. So this is the only one
Fantastic
coming out in
Four?
2024, and then I think the next is Fantastic Four.
Yeah, but they've been going through internal shuffles with so many things at Disney that who knows what's going to happen with all that.
So I'm gonna be a fucking bitch boy, and I'm gonna defend Feige, where I've always kind of had this theory that Marvel had a sweet spot when they first went to Disney, and then they started making them too much money, so Disney took too much control over Marvel. So I think there's a lot of filters that it's going through before, like post Feige. There's probably like 3 or 4 people making decisions above him, I would assume. I feel like Iger coming out and kind of being like, oops, we're gonna do less of these, was Feige being like, can I have my toys back? And he was like, sure, man, go for it. So I still got Feige faith.
I think it would be cool if the MCU came back. Wouldn't it be fun if it was like a massive, like I think Backface and I were talking yesterday, like a massive swing of positivity. But
it is possible. It's just not very probable.
Right, and I think the problem is what you face with. There was a small scale version of this that happened with Batman, but in the late 90s, and between then and Batman Begins. Like Batman Begins was the palate cleanser, and it didn't really make a lot of money. I think it broke even, but that was enough to get people to trust in the IP again. And then the next movie, The Dark Knight, that made $1 billion, and everything. Batman's still Batman now. But before that, between like 1997, 98, with Batman and Robin, like that killed the franchise. So 7 years doesn't seem like a long time now, but like that gap was massive, and that they had no idea what to do with Batman. So, budgets are massively inflated now versus that. So they'd have to do really lower budgets. Because this is the last one besides Avengers, I would think, even has a chance at making $1 billion, and it's not. This movie's probably going to make like $800 million.
No, and this will be the last thing I touch it, because after that, I mean, they have to try and integrate X-Men for real. Fantastic Four never works financially in terms of like being a success. Really, it's something about Fantastic Four just doesn't resonate with general audiences for some reason, and they're getting to the point now where, I mean, I wouldn't even say they're getting there. They're at the point where they're not even scraping the bottom of the barrel anymore. They're trying to fill it. You know, when you get like a bottle of shampoo and you fill it with water to try and get more out. That's what they're at. They're shaking water in they're at that point where they're just picking up whatever remnants they can of characters, like Wonder Man, a character that I like, but majority of people have no idea what the hell he does or who he is or where to find him. And if they're gonna do this actually would be they'd be really smart with this to completely use Deadpool as a reset button, but they're not going to. Unfortunately, they have too many projects that were already announced. So unless they're gonna go the DC route of releasing things into a dead universe, like with Aquaman 2.
Which would be so bizarre.
They might the problem is they might be in a perpetual state of just they can't stop the situation now. Like, where do you put the end to start over. If this would have
Secret
been
Wars.
but even
Yeah,
that,
Secret Wars.
it's still going to keep connecting everything. So I don't know. We'll see. This could have been this could be a turning point for how they do things, though, because if a rated R movie ends up being their biggest seller for a number of years, that they may have to pivot and actually start trying to appeal to adults again. So, but yeah, that's other than that, I gotta head out. So
Yeah, no worries. No, thanks for stopping in. Always appreciate you coming on.
thank
the
you
show.
for having me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Unfortunately, this is usually
Have you got
the time.
anything coming up that you would like to plug?
So we have on Saturday, we have our second episode of Two Hoes Versus, which I'm not allowed to tell you who the contestants are, but I
Two
will say
hoes.
two hoes. But yeah, I will say
Is
that
it Diddy?
it's not.
Is it Diddy?
No, it's not. Okay.
Is it Diddy?
Diddy didn't do it. No.
Yeah, this
Diddy
one's
did.
actually going to be interesting. Every question needs to be about the second film in a series because it's two hoes, two verses. So, and then after that, we're going to be
Rebel Moon 2.
I didn't.
Is that
I
one
wrote.
of them? Rebel
I
Moon
wrote
Part 2.
all
That's
the.
the second film in a series.
I wrote all of the questions before this movie came out, so no. But maybe one day I'll do like a shitty movie trivia day or something like that. And then we have after that, the following week we have our standard programming, and also I'm going to be releasing a review for Rebel Moon 2. I wasn't planning on it, but it was just that bad. It's just really a small addition. I'm calling it the DLC to my original review because you basically just plug it onto the end and it's the same shit. So it's the same. It all runs together as one long review. So that's the way I decided to go about it. But other than that, that's the standard stuff I got going on. So thank you once again for having me, guys.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Thank
We
you for
will chat with you
coming.
later.
Good to see you, buddy.
Catch you guys later.
Bye. Well, Platoon, did you have any thoughts on this trailer at all? I know you're sick, so you've been pretty quiet on this subject here.
My thoughts are that I didn't know that the trailer was out
Fair enough.
until like 5 minutes before we went live, and so I haven't seen it. Those are my thoughts on the Deadpool trailer.
Wait.
I thought
we could get live thoughts. If you go watch it right now, we could literally just listen to your live thoughts.
Oh, yeah. BRB.
BRB.
I'm so sorry I said that.
I actually thought that even though I liked that they did the red band trailer, but I thought, as a person who likes swearing, I thought it was a little too forced in that trailer. I think they said fuck in that small amount of time way too many times. Way too many times.
I think it's probably a part of the marketing idea to be
it
like,
definitely was.
This is not a Marvel movie.
Mm-hmm.
This is not a Marvel. Yeah, like that's all this seems. It's just like, you guys know Marvel? This isn't that. So,
right. Yeah. They're like, we're going to say fuck about 12 times in this trailer and do the last 30 seconds of it about cocaine.
Yeah. Which is a great idea, honestly. Like it was a little gratuitous, and also there was a couple where I was
it went over. Yeah.
Hugh Jackman saying fuck, sometimes I'm just like, you're so soft. You do Broadway, you know? Like it just doesn't hit.
I can tell you're a good person.
Yeah. But dude, I don't know if I'm a huge fanboy of Ryan Reynolds because we're from the same city. And, you know, there's like not a lot of people in Canada. There's like 10 people up here. So when one of them pops off, you got to recognize. So I'll always kind of like Ryan Reynolds more than I should. You like him, right?
I dislike Ryan Reynolds a little more than I should.
Oh, yeah?
I think it was from the Van Wilder years. And then
Blade 3.
Blade 3. And he had a shtick and I didn't like it. I just didn't like it. And yeah, there were some things about his mannerisms during his acting that I really don't like. Like he has this sting or he has to talk like this.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It bothers the fucking shit out of me. But maybe that's why I like him in Deadpool, because he wears the mask. So I don't have to watch him do that.
His physical comedy is pretty good. Like he uses his body pretty well. And I think I like him because I don't know if you ever watched any of his other movies. Like, did you watch Free Guy or Adam Project?
I started Adam Project, skipped Free. I'm just not a Ryan Reynolds fan at all. I try and skip his movies.
He lands endings of movies really well. Like, especially lately, stuff that he's producing on and like has a hand in writing. He hits emotional beats well by the end, where I'm like, okay, even like his terrible Christmas movie that he did with Will Ferrell. Like, by the time he's Ryan Reynolds for the whole movie, and then by the time you get to the end, he always pulls a little, always like,
charm.
He gets a little which is like, I don't know, it's endearing to me. But also, he is Deadpool. I don't know why anybody has doubts about whether this movie will be good or not. I guess because people probably assume it's being made by the same team that has been making everything else, but he just brought the same team back from the other movies. And I'm not the biggest Deadpool 2 fan, but it's entertaining. Like, when I rewatch it, I'm like, oh yeah, this is fine. Like, it's not offensively bad. There's a couple spots that are funny, and yeah, I don't know. This one feels like it could be good. It's definitely not going to only make $500 million.
I said 800.
There was someone in the chat, but like,
500. Oh, that's crazy.
I'm gonna call this again. I usually
disagree.
I base this off of my mother, which I feel like is the best measuring stick for how a movie's going to do. If my mom knows about the first trailer that's released, I know a movie's going to make money. I feel like this is going to hit $1 billion.
That anecdotal evidence actually can help.
It can.
It lets you know what the pulse is on
normies
across culture.
Just like white moms in Alberta, Canada. She knew the day the first Deadpool trailer dropped. Yeah, and she was like, "I'm excited for that movie."
There you go.
I feel like that's what kicks things up. I feel like you can hit like 800 mil just off of Marvel fan base alone if something looks good enough, and that extra spice is just like. But I don't know if Deadpool plays as well in like the rest of the world. Like, I don't know if the jokes land as well. Did Deadpool do good in China?
It does like 50-50.
Yeah.
Because both movies made over, well, it might be a little closer to 55-45, with 45 being domestic. Because both movies made over 300 million domestic, but 700 million worldwide. So it's a little heavier.
There's been a bit of a divergence anyway. Like, the last couple, at least, of the biggest earning American films have not performed in China. So Dune, for example, is not performing in China, but it's made a huge amount of money domestically, which is probably for the best, because it means we might stop pandering to the Chinese communists, which I'm all in.
You know what's really funny is we've actually talked about how these movies, like domestically, the box office really isn't doing that well, but more movies would have hit $1 billion if they were still released in China like they were a few years ago. That overinflated how many movies made $1 billion like over the last decade, massively, because they were making hundreds of millions of dollars extra there.
I've seen the trailer now.
What do you think?
Okay. It made me slightly more interested in seeing the movie, and I've never liked Deadpool. I've always found, like, I can understand why people do. I've just, like, the style of humor has never resonated. I always find it like slightly insufferable. He looks less insufferable in this one. It might just be because it's only a trailer, but there seems to be a little bit more of an actual story with more serious and severe stakes going on. There's some intriguing bits, like, jumping through a little Doctor Strange portal thing at the end. Wonder who's... It's going to be Wong, isn't it? It's always Wong.
It's always Wong. He's so cheap to get.
Yeah,
way cheaper.
He's very cheap. He will do literally anything. He's just a Vietnamese prostitute, is what he is. But no, it looks intriguing. I will be going to see it, and I'm not prepared to hate it as much as maybe I was before.
Huh.
That's pretty glowing from Platoon.
Yeah, it's a massive.
Yeah,
thing.
I don't doubt I will come out hating it anyway, but at least I'm not going in expecting to hate it quite as much. So that's an improvement.
Oh, and speaking of box office too, do you still have our Dune predictions written down at your desk by any chance?
I think I do.
It's getting closer to the end here.
Sorry, my keyboard is being rebellious.
Wrong.
Let's try that again. Notes.
I'm gonna go. It is just about to cross 700 million worldwide.
Damn.
I would think it's probably gonna peter out here.
Man,
like 750 maybe.
Crazy to me, because I went and saw it last week on a Wednesday at 6 p.m. and I had to sit in the front row in IMAX because the rest of the theater was sold out.
IMAX. I think that's where cinema is going to go. I think IMAX is going to stay because it is still seen as a premium special thing.
Yeah.
I guess, or theaters just have to become all special like that. You know,
I could take that. I love IMAX.
Yeah.
I think it might have deleted itself. I just opened notes. Every time I open notes, all my old notes are there, and I've just opened it and they're not, and I don't know where it saves notes. Where do notes save, chat?
In your phone?
No, it was on my PC. I didn't have it on my phone. Is it in app data? Talk amongst yourselves.
Well.
Nope, it's not there. In theory, I will have a look for it, but I do not have it to hand at the moment, I'm afraid.
Damn. Well, maybe I'll go back later in the week and just take a look at the stream where we talked about it.
I think I said 700.
I think I said
you said 9.
Did I really?
Or did you say 750?
I said 750. That's fucking crazy of me. Where's my head that day? I said 9.
$1 billion?
I said $1 billion. I was sure it was going to hit $1 billion.
I think I said 750.
I guess it is hard. It made them like a good chunk of its money domestically.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you were just saying.
40%. Yeah, 40-60 split. 40% domestic.
I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong, but I think I read that China, it's only made something like it's somewhere between 30 and 40. I think it is. So it's like it's not taking off there at all. But that's largely because like the Chinese have now got their own massive film industry because they've stolen all of Hollywood's ideas and realized they can do it cheaper domestically. So they don't need Hollywood anymore.
Yeah, some of the biggest movies of the last couple of years have come into that market, and we don't even know about it.
There's some big ones on Netflix too. Like you'll see the biggest ones. Usually Netflix will buy the rights to them, so you can tell what's really popping off. Was it Wandering Earth? There's like 3 of them now or something. They're huge.
And when movies were released in China too, it's like usually to just inflate the numbers because the Chinese government takes so much of the money.
Oh,
like they take an unbelievable amount. So it looks good. Like it looks, it's like, oh yeah, this movie made $1 billion. Holy fuck. What a fucking major success. It's like all China's money.
Really, if you're looking at, I guess you can't count day and date, but if you look at the bump from Dune 1 to Dune 2, like more than doubled what it made.
Yeah, and that's because of the day and date release on
date,
because what was it, 2021? So it came out on HBO Max and in theaters. Yep. So that made sense because it basically did the exact same thing Godzilla X Kong did as far as box office. Like it.
That's just depressing.
Well, no. It did better than Godzilla X Kong. I mean, like ratio wise, like its performance, because both of those movies came out on HBO Max and in theaters. The last ones and the new ones were theater exclusive, and like numbers wise, as far as like 1-to-1 ratios, they did almost the same idea.
I'm pretty sure Godzilla X Kong is going to make more money than Dune 2, though.
Oh, really? I haven't looked at it since the second weekend, maybe.
I think it's already made a ton of money, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's at 486. It might not reach Dune.
Is it going to China though? I feel like that one might do good in China.
I don't know if it's going there. I don't.
The Chinese like really terrible movies. I'm sure it'll do well over there.
It's already made 119 million there, and it's closing one more week because they only allow foreign movies in China for 30 days, and it released on March 29th. It's made $119 million there already, so pretty good chunk of its money. And
it's almost at 500 million.
Yeah,
pretty good for how fucking terrible that movie is.
Yeah, they'll be making another one.
Fuck.
Oh, please no.
You guys got fucking annihilated. Platoon, how'd your video do? Did you get fucked up in your comments? Did they all come for you?
That's the weird thing. Well, yeah, because like some
it's not weird.
Well, it's weird in the sense that there is a weird
I fall on this
it.
fucking sword. That's what it is. Because I make shorter videos so I can get mine out faster, and I'm the one who takes the brunt of all the bullshit.
Oh, I know. I got a huge amount of shit for that video. It was like all over like some inbred little subreddit is probably still to this day waiting to orchestrate. There was one period of, I think it was like the 3rd day of release, and there's one guy who's just living in that comment section just replying to fucking
yeah,
everything.
fucking lives there.
At one point, a subreddit apparently decided to copy paste. They did a copy paste thing, so it was just like everyone was piling in saying wasn't expecting racism in a Godzilla video in the year 2024. It's like 1,500 of those comments just coming in. It's like this is just, it's insane. You people are retarded, and you need to go outside. But for all of the immense amount of shit on Twitter, I assume on Reddit, I don't go to that weird little cesspit of nonsense.
Did bro really just say?
The number of comments beginning "bro" is always a good indicator of how like the average IQ of the comment section is going to be. The video like ratio, like for all of this massive pile on, it's still like 80% like. So like it's also not even a very popular video because most of my fans have too much good sense and taste to be interested in Godzilla. So the only people watching are people who are really pissed off, and still 80% of them hit the like button, probably because they're too dumb to hit the dislike button. They just missed it. But
that's what I'm saying. I that's where I fell on the sword, because I was the one who got bombarded with the mass downvote campaign because like all of the views from that video came from like suggested. So that means that it wasn't from like my general audience at all. It was from, like whatever, maybe the general audience watched it, but most of the reviews, and I would say 90% of the comments are from people who just were like searching for Godzilla, found it, and instantly fucking commented. The amount of times I get comments that started with like, if I hear another Godzilla -1 comparison, like, well, if you watch the fucking video, you wouldn't have. So
I actually have, because I put that in my video introduction. I said I was going to make a comparison with -1, and then I didn't. And then I had people in the comments saying, "Why did you make a comparison with Godzilla -1?" That you people are just certifiably dim. There's not really much that can be done about you at this point. I will troll you for a day, and then I'm going to leave you to do your thing, like athlete's foot as a culture in my comment section, and you can just grow in your weird little ways, which apparently they've still carried on doing. I haven't checked for ages, but that was a wild couple of days.
I think my favorite thing is if you look, like one of the biggest comments on Platoon's videos, counter argument, Godzilla suplexed Kong, and it's got the same amount of likes as your video does dislikes. It's like the exact same. That's amazing.
The guy that has 650,000 subscribers, and he's like a dedicated Godzilla channel, like commented on my video, so it like went to the top, and so I responded and I said, you should come on BSUP, talk about the movie with us. And he didn't respond, but I saw other people responding to me responding to him, which would be like, wow, he must have really got under your skin, blah blah blah. And I just find that interesting because it's like you get notified if a checkmarked person comments. Like, this is why. And I only wanted to respond to someone who had like, like he has a channel. Like, okay, well, why don't you come on and actually talk about the movie? And so I know that he saw my response too, but he apparently goes on other channels and does the same thing. He'll comment and say, bro, naturally has to start the comment with bro. Proceed to leave said comment and never come back and actually engage. But I was informed, though, Platoon, that if that guy were to come on our show, we would be destroyed.
Oh, really?
2 seconds.
Oh, in 2 seconds. 2 seconds. 2 seconds. I can believe that.
Have you looked at that guy's channel? He might actually destroy you. He's done like 250 videos on Godzilla.
It's his only topic. It's very niche.
Dude, that's very niche channel I've ever seen, man. Like, but I would be terrified to debate that dude on Godzilla. He's like the Godzilla encyclopedia.
He is a Godzilla,
but it's not even real, because like, this was the thing. The funny thing about the context in my video is that like not a single person actually tells me a specific instance where I've actually got the plot wrong, for example, which is the thing I'm talking about. The closest they get to actually doing a substantive criticism is, oh, you clearly didn't research the Godzilla lore. I was like, no, I didn't, because I don't hate myself that much. But also, none of my points require Godzilla lore, because I'm talking very specifically about how dumb this film is. So in the same way that you don't need to read all of the Star Wars expanded universe to know why the Rise of Skywalker is shit, you don't need to go and watch all the old Godzilla films, which have nothing to do with this one, to understand why this film is shit. It's fairly simple and obvious stuff. But for someone who has apparently got everything wrong, not a single person can name me a single thing that I did get wrong. Someone's done a response video, which is quite funny, because he goes through it basically saying, yeah, I agree with that. And then he makes up something that I've said and disagrees with that instead. So apparently, like, most of the internet's decided I'm a racist because I pointed out that Black Lives Matter is a fraudulent organization and you're not allowed to do that. But this guy's decided that because I'm talking about Godzilla -1 socio-historical context, that I'm apparently a big fan of Imperial Japan and making apologies for like the Japanese rape of Nanking. Like, no, none of that's in there. Also, you agreed with my analysis until you invented the thing to disagree with. So this is like how not to do a response video, which means I might end up doing a response video of my own, which I've never done before, pointing out that this is the wrong way to do a response video. But yeah, we'll see how that goes.
It's like the most British thing I've ever heard you say. Well, good sir, I saw your letter. I took offense. I'm going to write a better letter back to you. That kid would be ecstatic. He's got like 400 subscribers. If you did a response video, he would cry to his mother about how awesome his life is.
He uses the words like, obviously we in the kaiju community know more than this. Like, fucking hell. Oh, that's not a sentence that should come out of your mouth.
This guy's a furry for sure.
Well, we have plenty of super chats to get to, unless you guys want to talk any further about Godzilla or fucking
never again.
No?
Never again. No.
TGV Monster for $2. Thank you, sir. Hi, Platoon, Cynic, Dark Hour, Backface. Happy Monday. Happy Monday to you. St. Hugo, member of Little Platoon's channel for 1 month. I'm trying to take over because Platoon's sick. Evening, lads. Any thoughts on Fallout?
I thought it was okay.
I haven't seen it, so
it's good by the end. I felt like it kind of dragged a little bit in the beginning, but it's cool. It's cool. I'm not as excited as everyone else that I think has more lore like in their brains, but pretty neat. Cool show.
Yeah, sort of. Like it's what I really want to like it. I think like the aesthetic is brilliant. Soundtrack is lovely. I'm a sucker for anything sort of 1950s alt history because, you know, that's the glory days of England as we still just about had an empire. And also post-apocalypse because then no one can have an empire except, you know, us. But like I really want to like it for all those reasons. I think like the main lead is really good. And what's his name? Cowboy guy, Cad Bane. No, other one. Whatever his name is. He's very well performed. It's just
his prosthetic was perfect too.
Yeah, it was really good. The problem is like every time I start relaxing into it and thinking, yeah, this is okay, it just does something monumentally stupid as an excuse to push the plot along. And it really gets to the point where it becomes irritating when it does that. So like every individual scene, midway through the scene, I'm thinking, this is pretty good. And then they do something like, yeah, let's push the guy into his power armor in order to beat him up. And then I think, no, that's just fucking dumb and you needed an excuse. Stop doing it. Like Gatling guns 5 feet away from people that just miss even though they fire 2,000 rounds a minute, which is a small thing. It's a little gripe, but it's slightly annoying. Then there's like the massive coincidences that the plot really requires to move itself along, which also get grating. And then episode 8 really does just drop the ball completely with the way that they do the whole, the evil plan all along was that the communists were right about their infinite energy thing, but the nasty corporations decided that a monopoly on infinite energy wouldn't make them money, so they nuked the world instead. That's not how this works. Also, you've just stolen the entirety of the second Silo book and you've done it worse. So don't do that. Just do your own thing and do it better.
Silo for me? I'm going to lose my mind.
Sorry. Well, again, it's ages till you get there because like the Silo series only adapts like the first half of book 1.
Okay.
So you've got the other half of book 1 and then they might not even do book 2 because Fallout's done it instead. But it's like, yeah, there's bits that I really, really like about the Fallout show. It's just like, yeah, there's a lot of it that I really don't and I haven't really got my thoughts in order yet. But I'd say it probably averages out as kind of a okay, but should have been better.
TGV Monster again for $5. Being a rejected Star Wars script, I find it funny that KK herself looked at this movie script and said, I know where this belongs, the dumpster. Yes, this is one of her quality decisions. Not surprised Netflix picked it up though. I am surprised. Like, well, it is really awful. I guess everyone's entitled to one good smart decision once in a while.
Just a quick clarification, because Drew Gordon points out the Fallout games came out before Silo. That's true, but the end of the Silo TV show is nothing like the games. So that's the point I'm making there. Like, the Silo books evidently steal a lot, I say steal, borrow a lot from Fallout in terms of like genre and inspiration. But yeah, the actual reveal of the big evil plan, that is not from the Fallout games. That is new in Fallout TV show. And there is one place that it's quite obviously come from. But yeah, sorry, KK rejecting Rebel Moon was, yeah, the one good decision she's made in about 20 years, right?
TGV Monster again for $2. Zach also somehow made the night sky ugly in Rebel Moon. Yeah.
Everything's ugly in that movie.
Yeah,
Pointed out, like, they turned
brown.
it into mud. It looks like mud at
brown.
one point. Brown, and like, at least in part one, they had it looks kind of dumb if you think about it for more than a second, but they had, all the nice planets in the sky and it looks pretty. They didn't do that again.
Barry Ben for $2. Rebel Moon versus Ahsoka. I didn't watch Ahsoka.
Ahsoka is, I will stand by this. It is dumb, but it is not as bad Star Wars has gotten. It's not the worst Star Wars thing I've seen. It's definitely better than Obi-Wan.
Oh yeah, it's better than Obi-Wan. It's better than Mando season 3, I think, but only just.
Yeah.
But that's how low the bar is. So
Rebel Moon's way below that, though. That's that's below like Mando season 3 for me.
Bagface, do you want to read one?
Sure, homie.
Okay.
John Goats for 5 goats. I'm sorry if I butchered your name. $5 real. I think it's worse than writing on the fly. I think he legitimately thinks of cool pictures he wants and fills in the plot from there. That makes a lot of sense. It really does.
But you can do that and still make it work, right? Like I do. If I'm writing fiction, I usually have like this idea for the beginning, and I have roughly what I think the end is going to be, and I tend to write cinematically anyway. So like I do have pictures in my head of like what the scene is that I want, and there'll be bits and pieces sort of in the interstitial part, but I still have to. Then I'm writing my way from these set pieces to set pieces. But just taking that approach doesn't excuse you not actually writing a plot, which is what Zach does. Like, there are ways to do it well. It's just he doesn't because he's incompetent.
Waylon Bicep for $1.99. I think it might just be crap. I think you might just be right.
It's a special kind of crap, though.
Zack Snyder stenched crap. Lego My Bacon for $5. Thank you. Final Space is decent sci-fi. It's also pretty funny and isn't afraid to get dark in the later seasons. I've not seen it. I
never finished it.
Much TV.
First season's really good, though.
Thank you for the super chat. Mega Spidey for $5, not American dollars. Hello there to all. What's worse and why? Zach's DC trilogy or the Rebel Moon films? The Rebel Moon movies are worse.
Yeah, definitely. I would watch Man of Steel again before I'd willingly watch Rebel Moon again.
And you could make the argument that the DC stuff's more disappointing because it's got things people give a shit about and he does it incompetently. Yeah. But if you're just looking at it in terms of basic quality level, yeah, Rebel Moon is empty.
Yeah. Mr. Talk about it for $5. We could have gotten multiple seasons of Mindhunter with the budget that Rebel Moon got, but no, we need Zach's edgy wet dream instead. Shaking my head. Yep. Yeah, I wonder when that aura is gonna fall off him. Like, because I don't really see the defense, the Snyder cult, busting out for these movies. He's just like indefensibly bad. So, Stephen Miatello for $5. Sorry if I butchered your name. Avengers storyline should end. Start a new separate grounded Fantastic Four storyline. Trying to keep adding to the Avengers forever is making a mess.
Well, you're in luck because there's another Avengers film coming, and you've got Captain Falcon. That's also coming.
Yeah.
Show your moves.
Do you guys remember Robot Chicken and when they had the small sketches about DC and they'd make fun of Aquaman and they also had the Falcon, and he would just be like, "I'm the Falcon." No.
Yeah.
I'm the Falcon. Yeah. All right. So, Pooty Evans for $4.99. Tony Stark was able to harvest this grain in 3 days. The box of scraps. Excellent callback, dude.
It's just that fucking, they do it in so many bad movies, and it's like, how long do you need? 5 days. You've got 3.
Well, yeah,
Actually,
got
you
3.
want someone to turn around and say, Titus, you're a general. I'm a farmer. I know how long this takes. It can't be done in 3 days. It's physically, the grain hasn't finished growing. We can't do it.
And since they're into subverting expectations, like, why not just write into the script and be like, "Oh, just take this afternoon, dude. It's fine. We got this." Like, "Oh, well, we got 3 days. What do you want to do?"
Well, like,
make for a more interesting movie.
That entire time, they could have done all of their work in 3 days. That's what you're telling me? If everybody really pitched in with some elbow
just
grease.
really tried.
Yeah, if you just really try, we could have done it in fucking 3 days instead of 6 months. It seems like a giant, like, was everybody's high half the day? They just like bring it by hand.
It's also something I want to go back and check, right? Because like we don't see any massive field. Do we see massive fields of wheat in part 1?
No.
Because the ship comes and they say, right, you've got 10 days to do all of this and then we'll be back. So like, if we don't see the grain in part 1 because it hasn't been there, does that mean that in the 10 days it's taken, they have had to plant it and it's had to grow and ripen and they've harvested it, and that all happens in 10 days? I don't think that's how agriculture works.
So he's obviously taking from all of his favorite movies. I said this is slasher-esque. Friday the 13th. This is a deep cut. Friday the 13th, part 2, 3, and 4 all take place on the same weekend, and they're all Friday the 13th. So he's taking from that element, you know.
There's one other thing I have to point out. I just forgot to mention this. They put all the grain on a floating platform that is pulled by an ox. It can levitate, but it still needs a dude with reins, and it still needs to be pulled by an ox. Like, how do you get to the point where you can levitate something, but it's still pulled by an animal?
But they actually say when evil space Nazis arrive in part 1, and they say, look, in return for your grain, we'll give you robots to help you with the harvest.
Yeah.
And, and the leader
you guys
guy,
won't have to do this anymore.
What's his name? MODOK. He says, no, we believe that, not using machines, working the land by hand connects us to it. But you've got floating floating whatever words have just failed me. Floating thingies, those things. You've also got electricity, and your doors are Star Trek sliding things. I don't think you're committed to this agrarian lifestyle as you say you are.
Enough. And also, like, I don't understand what they thought originally too in the first film, because like at any point, like he literally just told you guys are totally replaceable. You don't need to exist. If we wanted to take this place and grow this food, we could just bring the robots.
Yep. Why don't you do that?
Why don't you just fucking do that? Just kill these people.
Oh, we didn't even mention by the way, we have a drop ship that still works after it crashed 2 years ago that we could use to escape.
Oh,
yeah,
that would
she spend a good chunk of the first movie trying to figure out how to like take a ship? She needs like to find a pilot, right?
Exactly.
But she had a fucking ship.
She had a fucking ship the whole time
on the planet. And
oh my god, I gotta write this down.
How did out of it?
There's so many mistakes in this movie.
It's fucked, dude.
The only way to appropriately look at it is through an EFAP lens. That's the way to appreciate it. I've got to write that down. Edit. I won't bog you down, Backface, with the edit for this. I swear to God. But I got to write this down. All right. We'll never get through the super chats if we go through Rebel Moon mistakes.
Yeah, fuck.
Pooty Evans for $1.99. Rebel Moon 3, Bread Maker.
Yeah.
It'd be better.
Great. Well, grain. You got to go through the whole process.
Just gonna pull this. Sorry, just very quickly. How long is it going to take to have this baby? 9 months. You have 9 days.
That's fucking good.
That was good.
You have 9 days.
Fuck.
RRTNZ, our guy from New Zealand, for $5. Welcome to the show, my friend. After seeing the Deadpool 3 trailer, I'm cautiously hopeful the film will be fun. Maybe not good, but fun. Chuck Norris is in it. as the swear words. Wait, Chuck. Wait, huh? Did I miss a Chuck Norris joke?
No, I think he's just the swear words. Chuck Norris is the swear words.
Oh. Relentless. Dan Cola vid about bank robbers. Think they sharper. Am I missing something?
I do not understand that reference.
I do not either. Pooty Evans for another $1.99. I wish they made a pop grain bucket for Rebel Moon. Yeah. Julio Rangel for $10. Platoon, no hip hop lyrics this week. Just want to show a little appreciation to you guys for being awesome human beings. Platoon, good on you for making sure that dude a couple of weeks ago was good. That was last week, right?
Oh no, we weren't on last week, so it would have been.
Oh yeah,
it would have been 2 weeks ago.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
no. Well, thank you for the super chat. No, it turns out he was having a bit of a bad time, but I gather things are on the mend, so that's good stuff.
It's good to hear. M8566 for $5. Hail to the best rapper today, a Lil Platoon. When he's not sick, we'll have to pull up some more lyrics from our favorite rappers.
That today.
Lego My Bacon for $50. Holy shit. Thank you for the donation. Serious question. Would you rather have regular Godzilla movies like Godzilla X Kong or have Godzilla blowing the backs of various kaiju, especially Mothra? I need to know. Love your streams and thank you, Platoon, for mentioning the GOAT, Evangelion.
I think it's depressing that Godzilla X Kong is considered a regular Godzilla movie. If that's yeah, up here. That was the comment that someone left, wasn't it? It was in my comment section on Twitter. So it's like the Godzilla -1 is the worst thing to have happened because tourists now come here expecting the Godzilla movies to be good. Like,
Such a fucking hilarious argument.
I like the idea of a Godzilla. I just think that the movie should be good. Like he'd be way better served if you had more films like -1. Hell, you'd be better served if you had more movies like Godzilla 98 versus Godzilla X Kong. So like more good Godzilla would be good. That's what I'm in favor of.
No, thank you for that $50 super chat. That's tremendous. That really appreciate that. Janis, is that right? $10. Sorry if I got that wrong. Well, now I know how to help boost my own plans for making reviews and critique videos. Make a horrible response to Platoon, have him make a response to my response mocking it, and reap the attention.
That was the only thing that made me stop and think maybe I won't do it, just because that's obviously what he's doing. But at the same time, you know, I think sometimes people go through life and not enough people have told them that they're quite fundamentally dumb. And actually, they need to improve themselves. So really, what I'm trying to do is like the same way that you go and you criticize bad movies because actually you can give some good writing advice. Criticizing bad response videos is not a bad way of imparting good argumentation advice. Like, only argue with things the person has said. Don't invent shit to disagree with. And if you go through it and you say, I agree with this, except for the thing I made up in my own head, you're not doing a good job, and you should maybe reconsider your approach.
Fritz P for $4.99. What would you rather watch? Star Wars: Rise of Skywalker or Rebel Moon Part 2?
Rise of Skywalker. Rise of Skywalker is just really funny. If you watch it as a comedy, it's great.
Probably Rebel Moon Part 2. I think this story is so riveting. I have to see how it ends.
I'll just die. I'll take the gun to the head.
Okay.
Yeah.
Neither, huh?
Yeah, pull the trigger.
Okay. John is for another $10. Thank you very much. On an actual serious note, as I've said before, I adore your work, Platoon. Very academic, but in a way even a layman can understand. Keep being amazing and an inspiration and goal to aspire to.
Very kind. Thank you very much. I will do my best.
Just be British. It's the YouTube hack.
It's just the accent. That's all it is.
You get better education because you're British. And you get better YouTube algorithm because you're British.
Yeah. Smack those American audiences with that British accent. Smack it right across the face with that girthy British accent. Duster for $2. Fallout was on Rings of Power levels of world destruction. I didn't see it. I don't know.
I kind of heard the opposite from a few fans, but I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, because I'm not very familiar with the Fallout lore. Like, I know that there was some conversation about like when is it Shady Sands gets blown up and whether or not it fits with New Vegas and things like that. Which they've attempted to like the big change, as far as I'm aware, it is just the end plan thing, because you had like the creator coming out and saying, no, China launched the first nukes, and then the Fallout show comes and says, no, it was the evil capitalists that did it to themselves to make money. And that's a big difference.
Yeah, impossible. Film Comics Explained for an ass $10. Rebel Moon was such a mess. Among many things, Tarek says his mother knew to protect the bloodline and the throne, while seeing him just watch her jump to her death. It's so incoherent. Yeah, that movie is a fucking incoherent mess that I can't wait to see.
To develop that one just slightly, yeah. So his mother just jumps off a balcony and kills herself, because why the fuck not? He's her son, and he says he now fights to protect a bloodline that's ended. But it hasn't, because he's her son. He's the fucking bloodline.
He can go make another one.
So beautiful.
God, I'm going to have to go back and listen to this stream tonight while I'm working on my script. There's like so many things. Like I have literally all of my notes for that video almost accumulate the total word count for a regular video I make. So I'm like, fuck.
That's going to be a long one.
Yeah. Then there's so many good points I even missed like during this conversation. Oh, whoops. We had just done that one.
Now he has to pay twice now.
Yes, Nessie. Give me some more. Fritz P again for $4.99. Where do you think we'll get the next big franchise in cinema? Can there be another great one, or is the future of good cinema in one-offs?
We're seeing the birth of like a Dune franchise right now.
Could be.
Which, I guess, yeah, not franchise, but maybe like triple. I feel like they'll probably try and turn it into something. They're already planning on doing the Ben and Gesserit show and things like that.
Yeah, there's part 3. There's the video game, so it's like the early stages of a franchise. I guess it depends. If Dune Messiah comes out and is really well received, then I don't really see them stopping. But they really should, because if you start to adapt anything after that, you just have to take mushrooms and enjoy it.
Last one here, Cinetic for a California, $5. From what moment in his life do you think Snyder developed this massive god level hubris? Where did it come from? When he got 300.
Yeah, I think it was 300.
300. Yep.
I guess once he landed Superman, so like post 300.
No, I would say Watchmen, because everyone was telling him how brilliant he was after Watchmen came out.
True.
And I can imagine like Watchmen more than 300, because Watchmen's the one that people go to and say, oh yeah, it's a great adaptation. It's really deep, and there's lots of like the visual imagery and the symbolism of the thing. Like it's a really brilliantly intelligent film. And I think more than 300, that gave him the impression that he's a smart person.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That combination, I guess. Maybe those two movies. That was in a like 2-year span anyway, I think. Like 2007 and then 2009 was Watchmen. Yeah, something like that. But yeah, those are all the super chats. Thank you to everyone who donated. Very nice of everyone who did that. And I want to thank the 2 guests, Bagface, who is here, and Dark Hour, who is not. Bagface, do you have anything coming up that isn't editing one of my videos? Or anything you want to plug?
So I'm working with a channel called Scene Invaders now, and we talk about things we like. So if that's your thing, come hang. We're doing a video tomorrow on this new series that just dropped on Netflix called Deer or Baby Reindeer. Like, it is messing with my mind right now. It's like a story about a dude who gets an insane stalker, and it's like a true story. And the person who plays the guy in the show is the guy who got stalked. He was like a comedian that turned the whole experience into like a one-man show. And then they turned that one-man show into a Netflix show, and he's the star, which is just wild. And it's so good. So we're doing a video on that. So come hang out there. And then yeah, I'm gonna do a short little video on my channel probably this week, just seeing how much slow-mo there actually is in Rebel Moon, because everybody makes a joke about it. I want to see how much there actually is. So I'm gonna do a lot of math and figure out the speeds he used, and I'm gonna see how long this bitch actually is.
I'm ready to know.
One way of doing it, because I did with the Ahsoka videos, I did that with like how long the pauses are between, because the number of times they just stand there and stare at each other for a stupidly long time. But I just put like a countdown clock over the front of it, and it tricked the copyright thing. So you could actually just keep that on your screen if you're just playing.
Oh,
I also put the countdown music there.
idea.
It's a classic, but
Jeopardy music.
One last one snuck in here. Sean Calloway for $5. He says he's late to the stream too. No worries. This will be unlisted for those still watching who came in late. So many franchises should have been one-offs. Ghostbusters, Jaws, etc. What other franchises do you think should have been one and done? Pirates of the Caribbean.
Pirates of the Caribbean, yes, good shout. Jurassic Park.
The Matrix. I thought that's what you were going to go for.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Lord of the Rings. You know, I would have liked it if it was just Fellowship.
Just Fellowship. I love cliffhangers, dude.
Love them.
Yeah.
It's like Boromir stabs Frodo and just runs off with the ring, and it's the end.
I got you, motherfucker. Got you, you little bit.
Subverting expectations. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's even, change it even less. The bit where Frodo climbs up the top of because he climbs up that little the watchtower, not the watchtower thing, the little statue place, and he has the trip where he sees Sauron's eye and he falls over backwards. He just falls off, just breaks his spine, and he dies. And that's the end of the Fellowship of the Ring.
I still remember
Gollum
it.
found the ring. He got it back. The end.
Word.
Harry Potter, Star Wars. Star Wars.
Star Wars, the first one wasn't even the best one. Come on.
RoboCop.
Oh, Fast and Furious. That's also a good one.
Yeah.
Yep.
Blade. I cannot say Terminator, not with T2 existing.
Blade 3 is the best fucking movie ever. Y'all are crazy.
Yeah. Guardians. Nah.
Brought to you by Ryan Johnson. Jesus Christ.
And Platoon. What do you got going on?
Flu and snot and stuff.
Fun.
What have I got? In theory, there's lots of things. There's a Velvet supercut of like the entire first season review, which has just cleared copyright. I've been fighting HBO for copyright for the last few days for that. It's just cleared, but it's got ad restrictions, so I don't know if I'm actually going to release this one or if I'm going to try again and figure out what exactly it is that they think is offensive about Velma, which could be literally anything, frankly.
Anything.
If I don't do that, that should be out probably on Wednesday, because obviously like Velma season 2 kicks off on Wednesday. So while my editor suffers through the Rebel Moon script, which I still need to record the rest of once my voice is better, I will be working on Velma. So there'll be lots of stuff. And maybe a short Rebel Moon video on the second channel. Maybe also that response video thing. But there'll be stuff in the next week or two.
Fun. Yeah, I'm dropping Rebel Moon a review on that, edited by Bagface, and then Velma, edited by Bagface.
Woo!
Yeah,
It's gonna be great.
It's kicking into gear. Review season's kicking into gear here. New stuff coming out. But no, thanks for everyone in the chat. Really lively chat tonight. It's cool to see 2 streams in a row, over 1,000 people watching. It's awesome. But thanks again to our guests. I want my co-host to feel better. Please feel better, Platoon.
That's just so you don't have to do all the work, you lazy fuck.
Hey, I make the fucking like thumbnails and shit. Come on. Like it's But yeah, we will see everyone next week, and see you in the comments on the next few videos we'll be dropping in between, it sounds. So see you, everybody. Bye.
Bye.